Hey there, want to make your voice heard at a Board of Supervisors meeting? We're all ears. Here's how you can get involved. First, hop online and look at the agendas. This will give you the scoop on what's coming up before the board. Each agenda item includes a brief description of the issue, the recommendations, and potential impacts. If you need more detail, check out the detailed reports online. Those are called board letters. Then, decide if you want to speak at Tuesday's general legislative session or Wednesday's land use session. You'll have 3 opportunities to have your say. Let's start with non-agenda public comment. This is your chance to talk about things that aren't on the agenda, but try and keep your topic related to county government. For non-agenda public comments, you can speak at either the Tuesday or Wednesday session, but not both. So, pick your day accordingly. And keep in mind, the board can't act on the spot. They'll refer your comments to the Chief Administrative Officer, who will look into the issue. Last thing, the board will hear from the first 10 speakers, 5 in person and 5 by phone at the beginning of the session. Then all the remaining speakers will get their chance to speak after the discussion items. During the consent agenda, the board handles a bunch of routine items with 1 vote. If you want to comment on an item, keep it simple. For example, I'm John Doe speaking on item 5, and I agree with approving the contract. Discussion items are the main event where the board debates before making a decision. Want to speak at one of the meetings? It's really easy. Just hop online and fill out a quick request form at publiccomment.sandiegocounty.gov. Pick the meeting you're interested in, hit the register button, then fill in your details. Make sure to include a phone number if you plan on speaking by phone. Prefer speaking at the podium in the board chamber? No problem. Just pick the in-person option. After that, just check off the agenda items you want to talk about and let them know you're for, against, or neutral on them. Hit register and you're good to go. A confirmation email will land in your inbox to wrap it up. If you're speaking by phone, the email will include the instructions for how to dial in. Be sure to submit your request early. Once public comment begins on the agenda item, we can't take any more requests to speak. And if you have documents, hand them to the deputy clerk when it's your turn to speak at the podium. Now, you get 2 minutes to speak, but if lots of people want to talk, it might get cut to 1 minute. So, you might want to consider writing 2 sets of comments, one for 2 minutes, another one for 1. That way, if time's cut, you won't be scrambling. There's also a countdown clock at the podium to keep you on track. Once you're at the podium, stay on topic. Stick to the current agenda item. If you stray off topic, you might get a gentle nudge to get back to the point. Keep your comments related to the agenda item's recommendations because that's what the board is relying on to make a decision. Also, speak directly to the board. They're the ones making the decision. When your time's up, it's up. Overstaying might mean getting muted or even asked to leave. Now for some ground rules. For safety, keep aisles and doorways clear. If there isn't a seat, head across the hall to room 302 or the 4th floor balcony to watch the meeting. Respect is huge. Everyone should feel heard. That means you, other speakers, and the Board of Supervisors. Disruptive behavior gets 1 warning, and after that, a deputy sheriff might show you the door. So let's keep it respectful. Your voice matters, and we want to hear from you. Remember, we're all here to make a difference.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you. I now call the January 14th, 2026 San Diego County Board of Supervisors Land Use Legislative Session to order. Ryan, please call the roll for today's session.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. Before I call the roll, I'd like to note for the record that Supervisor Desmond is participating via teleconference. As such, all votes will be handled by a roll call vote. At this time, Supervisor Desmond will make a statement about participating remotely and disclose whether anyone over the age of 18 is in the room with them, as well as their relationship to the supervisor.
Well, thank you. I'm participating remotely because I'm still sick with the flu, and no one is in the room with me.
Thank you, Supervisor Desmond. With that, I will now call the roll. Supervisor Anderson.
Here.
Supervisor Desmond.
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Aguirre.
Here.
Vice Chair Montgomery Stepp.
Here.
And Chair Lawson-Remer.
Here. Okay, thank you so much. Before we begin, I'll take a moment to address House rules. Public engagement is a cornerstone of transparent and accountable government, and these Board of Supervisors meetings are a primary venue where San Diegans can make their voices heard. Our county is committed to a work environment free from unlawful discrimination and harassment, including sexual, racial, religious, age, disability, and any other forms of discrimination or harassment. Under our board's rules, speakers may not use loud, shouting, threatening, impertinent, slanderous, profane, or abusive language to any member of the board, staff, or general public. Additionally, all remarks and questions must remain on topic during the duration of your speaking time and must be addressed to the board and not to county staff. Any speaker who engages in comments that break these rules will be issued a warning. After one warning, you will be asked to leave the chambers for the remainder of the meeting. Finally, speakers threatening violence may be reported to law enforcement and removed. This is a space for community engagement, deliberation, and progress, not for harassment, violence, and hate. We now proceed with closed session reports. Council, is there a report for yesterday's closed session?
Yes. The Board of Supervisors met in closed session on January 13th, 2026 from 2:43 p.m. to 3:32 p.m. 4 board members were present with Supervisor Desmond absent. The board took no reportable actions. End of report.
Thank you so much. We now proceed with non-agenda public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on subject matters within our jurisdiction, but not on our meeting agenda today. The only action we may take is a referral to the CAO. Under the board's rules, speakers may speak once per meeting, either at yesterday's or today's session, but not both sessions, and you may select which one to address at your convenience. To better facilitate the meeting, we have 5 speakers in person and 5 speakers by phone for non-agenda public comment at the beginning of the meeting. The remainder will be heard at the close of the session. Additionally, in accordance with board rules, for any discussion item with 10 or more speakers, individuals have 1 minute to share their opinion. According to Rule 4A, members of the public that are non-English speaking and need interpretation assistance receive twice the allotted time for their comments. And a final reminder, audience members shall not whistle, clap, stomp feet, or do anything that disrupts the proceedings. If you disrupt the meeting, you'll be given 1 warning. After that warning, disrupt the meeting again, you'll be directed to leave the chamber for the remainder of the meeting. Ryan, please call the speakers.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 13 total requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 9 individuals in person, and 4 requesting to speak by phone. For those that requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers, and we'll now randomly select the first 5 speakers in person. All the remaining speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You'll then have 2 minutes to address the board, and if you could please begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward the first 3 individuals: Oliver Twist, Parita Javier, and Alina Thompson.
Madam Chair, while we're waiting for people to come to the podium, I may be able to save some of the speakers some comments. I'm wearing this Gulls sweater today because tonight is the Native American Appreciation Night at the Gulls. And one of the tribes in my district, Viejas, is sponsoring it, and 2 of their council members designed the hats that they're giving away tonight. So I just wanted to make sure so we save time and they can focus on the people's business.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, please continue.
You can go ahead with your comments, Parita.
Start.
Hi.
Good morning.
I am Purita Javier, senior with existing medical condition and victim of ceramic Kelm toxicity next door since 1984. We made or have been voicing our community concern, but for some reason, it has never been addressed since June 2021. The import of our health and safety is real. We are hurt physically, emotionally, and financially as we find solution at the county air pollution control district, city, and even at SENDAG. To this advisory board, this is a service respectfully recommended from study and result of where will help our legislative leadership for policy making in support of aging and independent services. As the response from lawful authority, it appears that the problem has only been described as pointing finger and or silence. In our twilight years, this is an obstacle to a healthy longevity for us taxpayers, las the Tigagans. APCD.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, good morning, Oliver Twist. And for the record, for those at home watching, I want everybody to know that Chair Lawson Remer has stepped out of the room for my public comment. I'm here today to advocate as the voice of the voiceless, the victims that cannot speak for themselves. The actions of this chamber yesterday were completely egregious, that you chose to honor a woman who not only impeded but obstructed federal officers in the execution of their duties under the auspices of trying to make her a political martyr, when you completely ignore the voices of those who have been done harm by your advocacy of SB 54. In particular, these two children, Aria Cruz Asensio, Aiden Antonio Torres de Paz, were killed. Okay, please pause my time. I would like to put on the record, okay, before you understand.
You know the rule.
Okay, I understand, but what I'm saying is Corinna Contreras was allowed to stand here a few meetings back with a climate action campaign in advocacy. She had an oversized poster and she was allowed to present it. And so I am asking for the same equity. And if you would like your legal counsel to look at that, I can go back and find that meeting, but I absolutely have proof that you allowed this to happen before.
Ma'am, please continue with your comments.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your respectful treatment, Deputy. I appreciate it. Anyway, continuing with my time, starting as again, these voices will not be silenced. And again, that is a form of censorship about any kind of sign, whether I had it on my shirt. The sign is not blocking anybody's view, so please rethink that. And this is made all the richer with the fact of the irony of we have people, progressives, that say that this is about democracy when in fact you won't even let us clap in this chamber. So shame on you for that. I'm asking for you to start tracking IIV, illegal immigrant violence. Give us complete data on that. Start a restitution fund. These families should not have to do GoFundMes to get restitution. Take the $5 million that you're putting towards illegal immigrant defense and put it towards restitution for victims of IIV. And I will adjourn today's memory in Aria Cruz Asensio and Aiden Antonio Torres de Paz. Thank you.
Just real quick, Ryan, before we move to the next speaker, I believe the issue with the posters are we would prefer that we have permission from families before we show children's faces on public TV. So we would just ask for now that I wanted you to be able to continue, but that we not do that right now because we really want to honor any child and their family, and we have not received that permission yet. So that was what that's for. So we will continue on with the next public commenter. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well,
Next,
they did have public GoFundMes.
thank you. Next commenter is Elena Thompson. You don't want to speak on non-agenda at all? Okay, we'll go ahead and remove you. So then I'll invite for the next, we've taken two, so the next three is Miss Lachelle, Kathleen Lippett, and allegedly Audra. You may come forward in any order. Again, Kathleen Lippett, Miss Lachelle, and allegedly Audra.
I don't think it's, my name is Kathleen Lippett. In light of Martin Luther King's birthday and our celebration of him, the core message in Martin Luther King's fight for racial equality was about unity and harmony that brings us together. Achieving racial equality relies not only on our ability to see and appreciate our differences, but our willingness to look beyond them. The disharmony, resentment, and anger we often see today is evidence that the policies of social justice and equality that prioritize ideological groups over the individual through a lens of equity or equality undermines Martin Luther King's work toward bringing us together. Pseudo-postmodernism, socialist, and Marxist strategies were designed to sound virtuous, but wherever they have been tried, they have sown misery, economic ruin, and violence. Martin Luther King fought for equality under the law, not special treatment of some at the expense of others. That is prejudice. But you can't take them all into account. It's technically impossible to list all the ways that you might be oppressed, and they're too numerous to list. How are you going to weigh them? Who's going to decide whether you are oppressed? You have to fractionate the opposed, the oppressed, all the way down to the individual, and that is what the Western civilizations did. At the root of Western culture is that no accident that the axiomatic individual was somehow who was unfairly nailed to a cross and tortured. Pick up your suffering and bear it and try to be a good person. Thank you.
And then again, allegedly Audra and Miss Lachelle.
Virtue signaling, like you actually care about children, is a bit nefarious when you traffic children and you don't want people to know about the children that have died at the hands of an illegal immigrant or been raped. You don't even have to show their picture, say their name, but you could at least talk about it. Instead, you want to talk about all the political theater that you guys love to play around with. And so I'm here to continue to talk about Malika and Zion. I'm actually going to read a statement from Ricky Robinson, who is the grandfather and the voice for his granddaughters, Malika and Zaya. He is here because San Diego Child Welfare has taken his granddaughters from their blood family and refuses to give them back, despite documented bonds, despite completed case plans, despite the children crying to come home at every single visit. What he is witnessing is not child protection. It is the permanent removal of children from their family while the system closes ranks to protect itself. His family has been retaliated against for speaking out. Restraining orders were used to cut him off from his own granddaughters. An elderly dependent, his mother, was caught in the middle of this, and she died while the girls were kept away. They will never see their great-grandmother again. The harm cannot be undone. When families expose misconduct, they are punished. When children suffer, the system looks away. And when the truth is spoken here, you walk out. He is here to put San Diego on notice. People are watching. This case is public. The trauma is real. These children belong with their family, not the system, not to get collected money on. You may ignore us, but you cannot erase what you have done. The hammer is coming down on the trafficking of children and the money and the racketeering that is going on, and so you guys will be held accountable because San Diego is being looked at, and you will not get away with trafficking Malika and Zaya any further, so you need to course correct immediately.
All right, and final call for Ms. Lachelle. Okay, we'll go to our fifth and final speaker then, Cesar Javier. Cesar? Not seeing Cesar in the chamber or any movement. We'll go to our next speaker, Jennifer Roytson.
Hello. My name is Jennifer Roydston. In the County of San Diego, Child Welfare Services stole my son. Completed case plans. They alienate our families. What are you guys doing? You guys are supposed to unite families, make them strong. That is why you get funding, and yet you use that money to put in your own pockets. You do not unify, you don't help, you destroy families, you destroy these children that are going to have long-term problems, and nobody seems to care. But what I can tell you is that our president, $10 billion gone from HHS. Those ships he's bombing are connected to the cartel that is connected to all of this, and you are dirty for what you do to children. I don't understand why you don't care about our society, about making a better world. All the money in the world is not going to make you a happier person. You are still going to die, and you'll never get what you truly wanted because you were so greedy and so disgusting on this earth. These children matter. My son matters, and I want him back. I just don't... We're tired of the lies, the manipulation, the gang stalking. That $10 billion got taken away, and that's what they use to gang stalk these low-level social workers that take incentives to take away people's children. People should be pissed off that they are preying on low-income families. Like, stop crying about ICE. Cry about all the children that came through the border and they killed.
We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments, and we will go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Hello, my name is Gregory Goodwin. I'm calling in for option A. That is the only option to choose at this point. So,
Sir, just to be clear, you can pause this.
we do appreciate all your help.
Sir, please pause. We're on non-agenda public comment. So you're speaking currently to matters within the board's jurisdiction, but not an item on our agenda today. If there's an item on the agenda that you want to speak to, you should call back for that item. So if you have anything further you just want to say regarding non-agenda, please continue. If not, it would be advisable to call back during the appropriate item so we can consider your comments then.
Greg, did you have any other comments? Greg? Okay, we'll go to our next.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any other comments on non-agenda?
I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to our next caller.
Hi, good morning. Before you start my time, I want to make sure that the individual showing the video keeps this video up, please. Is that possible?
Yes,
Of the emaciated horse on Artesian Road?
yes, we're working on that right now. I'll let you know when it's up, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, you may begin. Your video is being shared.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My name is Zora Fahim, president and founder of Los Angeles Alliance for Animals. The news that continues to come out of Artesian Road is absolutely horrific. This is years of cruelty towards animals and people in the community. And we know that when one horse is ignored, all animals and all life in this county is at serious risk. I wanted to express some serious concerns about Deputy CAO Andrew Strong's comment that animal cruelty is taken very seriously. I'd like to ask Andrew Strong, how is that? Because right now, under his leadership, including Director Vaughn Maurice, the department is completely crumbling. It's all over KPBS News. We have Supervisor Tara Larson-Remer, who clearly doesn't care about horses. The horses continue to languish on Artesian Road, not being removed. We have dogs in county shelters, no walks for days at a time. This is not on behalf of my statements, but behalf of employees and volunteers. Retaliation on behalf of Director Vaughn Maurice, hired by Andrew Strong, is rampant in the department. You all know about this. Not to mention the assistant director he hired believes dogs are shit. The list goes on. Mrs. Remer, I want to make sure this is on clear record so I have evidence of it. All the dogs, all the horses on Artesian will die because of you. I know you don't care. That's very clear. This is a perfect example of your failed leadership, lack of human decency, compassion, empathy, or concern. You are not above the law. Andrew Strong is not above the law, nor is one of the worst deputy district attorney, Eric Bodner, this county has ever seen, is above the law, nor is DA Summer Stephan. And I want to make sure that is also on record. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Hello, I'm against the county's animal cruelty, and I support the Illegal Immigrant Violence Fund. And Joel's cultural misappropriation outfit is as good as Tara's usual fashion sense. And I find it amazing how Jim can zoom in today, but not yesterday when it mattered. And also that you'll allow me to comment twice in a row. 2 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Good morning, supervisors. My name is Kenia Peraza. I'm a school board member for my district in San Isidro, and these are my individual comments and not from the board as a whole. I respectfully want to ask this board to take a closer look at the child welfare case involving two little girls, Malaika and Zaya, and to consider the broader implications this situation has for family reunification and public trust. Despite the mother completing her case plans, Child Welfare has announced its intent to terminate reunification on February 17. Shortly thereafter, the girls were sent out of the county to the Dominican Republic. Please hear them. Please hear the mother. Please hear the grandfather. They're desperate. Regardless of perspective, decisions of this magnitude deserves careful revision. Removing children from their mother, extended family, and home country is irreversible. These actions raise serious questions about how reunification standards are applied and whether family preservation remains a meaningful goal in practice. This board has an opportunity to ensure transparency, accountability, and consistency in how child welfare decisions are made. Advocacy does not mean interfering with the courts. It means ensuring systems are functioning as intended and that children's long-term well-being remains the priority. Please, and San Diego should be a place where families believe that completing a case plan matters, that reunification is real, and that governance processes are fair and humane, most of all. I ask.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning. Again, all remaining speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session.
Okay, thank you very much. We now proceed with the formation of the consent agenda, items 1 and 2 today. These items are routine and will be acted upon with one motion. Individuals can comment after supervisors pull any items they would like for discussion. Do any of my colleagues have any items to pull or any comments? Vice Chair Montgomery-Steppe.
No items to pull. I'll move the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. Chair Pro Tem Aguirre.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Anderson.
I have nothing to add or change.
Okay. Supervisor Desmond.
Nothing to pull and no comments. Thanks.
Thanks. Please go ahead and move to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. We do have 5 total requests to speak on items on the consent agenda, 3 individuals in person and 2 requesting to speak by phone. Again, for any individuals that did request to speak on items on the consent agenda by phone, please dial it in the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You'll then have 2 minutes to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the record. Also, please, when speaking, identify which items on the consent agenda item you're speaking about. And I'd like to invite forward allegedly Audra, Cesar Javier, and Kathleen Lippett. And again, you may come forward in any order.
I'm going to speak on both of them because what you guys do is quite ridiculous, the way that you take care of things or pretend to take care of things. You kind of do a half-assed job and then, later costs the people more money to make sure that you can go and fix what wasn't really fixed or what was, partially done, like adding slurry seal and things like that. But the point is to get us out of our cars. So it's like you're not really going to be taking care of that kind of infrastructure to make sure that people can get around and travel, because you're trying to impede our ability to do so to pretend to save the planet, and it's all a bunch of propaganda. And when you guys sit here, even with the culvert repairs, I feel like you guys wait until the last minute to make a bunch of fixes, which cost the people a lot of money, but we've already seen how that affected people in the storm, which again was done because there was cloud seeding, so you guys don't want to believe in geoengineering and weather modification, but it's happening right above the skies above us. You think those are contrails, but those are chemtrails, and they're very toxic to the human being. But it doesn't really matter because it gives you guys your whole climate agenda that you want to push, and it's really disturbing because it's like you think that it would bother you that we're being sprayed with not only human DNA but heavy metals, nanothermite, graphene, things like that. And if you really cared about the planet, it would bother you that they cloud seed and, it causes storms here, right? And people lose their lives or their, possessions and different things. And then, the city sues them for trying to get things like that back. So, you guys need to start really thinking about course correcting, because you constantly push all of this stuff because you get money for doing it. And it's detrimental to you guys as well. So, get your shit together.
And again, Kathleen Lippett or Cesar Javier? Okay, that sounds good. So no more in-person speakers, and also not seeing any movement in the chamber by Cesar. We will go to the callers, and again, for those that have requested by phone, when it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted, and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments, and we will go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Juan Soto. I'd like to comment on 1, 3, and 4.
Can you guys hear me?
One, I'm going to pause your time. What is on the consent calendar is 1 and 2. You'll have to hold your comments for 3 and 4. Those are separate discussion items. So you can comment on 1 and 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll just do 1 and 2.
You got
on the one thing, okay, about the asphalt roads. Now, the city of San Diego has gotten in such a problem with this problem. And hopefully, I don't know if you guys have your own crews that do that or you sub it out. It looks like you sub it out, which is a great thing because that could save the county a lot of money instead of paying pension benefits to guys doing road repair and stuff because in all sorts of things in the county, it'd be great to sub it out. Don't carry the pensions on the people. Let the private companies do the work, attorneys, whatever it is. But the city is in such a pension fiasco. I know the county's got a little more money, but that's what I would just like to comment on. Keep the asphalt roads under private companies, whoever does the asphalt work, and then go with that. So hopefully, thanks a lot for your time. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Okay, Consuelo here. Okay, so today's consent calendar, let's see, it includes contracts for asphalt, slurry seal, and countywide culvert repairs. Okay. On the surface, what happened? Okay, I don't know why I'm getting a message from I'm now positioned 60 seconds. Something's going on with your, nope, you got to pause my time. Sorry, something's going on. I got this lady talking to me, talking about, I know, you can hear me, but I'm being interrupted by the little operator lady saying I'm going to be up in 58 seconds.
Okay, let me go ahead. I'll restart your time. Okay. Are you fine to speak now? Is the message gone?
I can hear you, Ryan, yes. I can hear you, but I have somebody coming in. Okay, but so you're going to restart my time?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, got it. Okay, so on the surface, that sounds responsible. Infrastructure matters, roads matter, drainage matters. But here's the problem. This county is not maintaining infrastructure. It's reacting to neglect while continuing to waste money on nonsense that does nothing for the people. We defer real maintenance for years, then roll out the oversized contracts, inflated cost, and emergency fixes, and call it stewardship. That's not stewardship. It's management. And while we're talking about asphalt, let's talk about what's actually in them. Chemicals are in the asphalt being laid across our communities. What heavy metals, residues, and particulates are collecting in these drains? And where does the runoff go? Because it doesn't disappear. It enters our soil, our waterways, our air, and ultimately our bodies. If this board truly claims to care about environmental protection and land preservation, then you should also care about what is being sprayed, dumped, and dispersed into the environment. The public should not have to rely on documentaries and whistleblowers or independent researchers to ask basic questions about environmental exposure. And here's what's most concerning. We've had supposed leaders, including former pilots, Jim Dozen, claim that they can't tell the difference between condensation and a chemtrail. That activity in the sky is obvious. And it's just a shame. And your supposed leadership means looking up, asking questions, having the courage to say, we need transparency, we need testing, and we need honesty. But that'll never happen. That's like a, right?
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go ahead and go to our next speaker.
All aboard. Great speech, Consuelo. Okay, contracts for asphalt and slurry seal. Not sure what the pavement condition in 2016 that you mentioned in the board letter has to do with conditions in 2026. But anyway, now that you have the SB1 money, you can go ahead and fix the roads which meet certain criteria, which you had just done as continuously instead of singling out a few roads. Hope you can fix all the roads in need of repair out of the goodness of your heart and concern for the safety and welfare of the people, which seems to be lacking, by the way. But waste of taxpayer money matters. Hope there is a big thank you to the state, which offered to supply about 89% of the money. But can someone please explain why county road contracts have an 8% contingency fee, while contracts for the city and permanent road division program have a 20% contingency? Outrageous and more than double. Until this is fully explained to the people, I recommend a no vote. 2, the culvert repair. I'm glad that you want to fix up 62 drainage culverts in unincorporated areas. Hopefully there will be less flooding as a result. However, a 15% contingency fee is ridiculous. Please explain this again until this is fully explained to the people. I recommend a no vote. We need to get a handle on these high contingency fees. Raw deal on the homeless, tiny cabins and
Thank you. Your time is up. And Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on the items on the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion by Vice Chair Montgomery Steppe, a second from Chair Pro Tem Aguirre. Please vote.
And it will be roll call vote today since Supervisor Desmond is remote. So with that, Supervisor Anderson? Aye. Supervisor Desmond?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Aguirre?
Yes.
Vice Chair Montgomery Steppe?
Yes.
And Chair Lawson-Remer?
Yes.
And that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We now move to discussion item 3, notice public hearing, report back and seeking direction on the draft socially equitable cannabis program and related CEQA exemption. I'll hand the floor to our county team for a presentation.
Good morning, Chair Lawson-Remer and supervisors. Today, staff will provide an update on the draft socially equitable cannabis program, or SECP, and request policy direction on 3 program decision points. Today, no formal action is requested on the outcome of the program. Staff seeks direction in preparation for the summer 2026 hearing, where a formal action will be requested.
The SECP was directed by the board in 2021 and would allow new commercial cannabis facilities in the unincorporated areas of the county. Today, staff will report back on the draft ordinances, the draft program environmental impact report, and give an overview of stakeholder feedback. Staff is also requesting direction from the board on 3 decision points. Decision points 1 and 2 are led by Planning and Development Services. These include program options related to land use, consumption lounges, and temporary events. The Office of Equity and Racial Justice is leading decision point 3, which covers the establishment of a community equity contribution program. The board directed several cannabis-related items the past few years. In March 2017, the board directed a ban on any new cannabis facilities. There were 5 permitted cannabis dispensaries in the unincorporated area that are still existing and have been allowed to continue operating. In January 2021, the board directed staff to amend both the zoning ordinance and regulatory code to allow new cannabis facilities in the unincorporated area. This direction aligned with state requirements for a 600-foot buffer from cannabis facilities to sensitive uses, including schools, daycares, and youth centers. On June 9th, 2021, the board directed staff to develop a program environmental impact report, or PEIR, to analyze the environmental effects of the SECP. On June 15th, 2022, in response to community concerns, the board directed staff to analyze and incorporate 16 new measures into the draft SECP that go beyond the minimum state requirements. These include analyzing a project alternative in the PEIR, which required a 1,000-foot buffer from an expanded list of sensitive uses, such as parks, public trails, and residential care facilities, among others. On April 30th, 2024, the board provided policy direction on the social equity program. As part of this direction, a ceiling of 25 licenses for retail storefront facilities or dispensaries was established in the unincorporated area, with half of those being designated for social equity applicants. There will not be a licensing ceiling for other cannabis license types. There will be a 3-year head start for social equity businesses to open prior to non-equity businesses.
Based on the board's direction, the SECP was developed consisting of 4 major project components. The first component is the Social Equity Program, which is led by the Office of Equity and Racial Justice. The Social Equity Program would provide eligible persons support to establish or gain employment in a cannabis facility. The purpose of this program is to address the adverse impacts that cannabis criminalization has had on people and their communities. The second component, proposed regulatory requirements, are revisions to the county's regulatory code and zoning ordinance, which specify where cannabis facilities can be located and how they operate. The third component is the Program Environmental Impact Report, or PEIR. And the fourth component includes developing procedures to issue the licensing and permits to run a cannabis facility.
As part of the board's direction, staff drafted amendments to the county zoning ordinance and regulatory code to establish where and how cannabis facilities can operate. These were released for a 60-day public comment period. Facility types could include cultivation, retail dispensaries, on-site consumption lounges, temporary events, and manufacturing, among others. Facilities could locate in certain agricultural, commercial, or industrial zones outside of a state-mandated 600-foot buffer from schools, daycare centers, and youth centers. While the state regulates cannabis facilities, the county can apply more location restrictions and requirements. The draft zoning ordinance requires cannabis facilities to comply with performance standards related to lighting, fencing, noise, odor, and water source, among others. The draft regulatory code establishes operational and safety requirements and includes standards for security and odor control. It also outlines when regular inspections must take place. To operate, all cannabis facilities would need to obtain a state license, a local land use permit, and a local cannabis business license, as well as any other approvals from state resource agencies. Later in this presentation, staff will present program options which explore changes to the draft ordinances that address stakeholder feedback. The draft SECP includes the preparation of a Program Environmental Impact Report, or PEIR, as required by the California Environmental Quality Act. The board directed the preparation of a PEIR to potentially streamline the environmental review for future applicants. The draft PEIR, along with the draft ordinances, was released for a 60-day public comment period from January to March 2025. The draft PEIR evaluated 5 project alternatives, which differ in their definition of sensitive uses, buffer distances, allowed facility types, and whether to allow, restrict, or prohibit outdoor cultivation. The draft PEIR found that adoption of the SECP could result in significant and unavoidable environmental impacts. These include impacts related to aesthetics, temporary construction-related noise, odor, groundwater, water supply, and transportation. All project alternatives would have similar impacts, with the exception that outdoor cultivation facilities would result in odor impacts that could be lessened if outdoor cultivation is prohibited. The final PEIR, including responses to public comments, will be made available to the public in spring 2026, prior to any future public hearings.
Staff participated in more than 280 outreach events during program development. During the public comment period, we received feedback on the environmental analysis, the draft ordinances, and the program overall. Starting with the environmental analysis, some community groups and members raised concerns about cannabis odor and asked for stronger odor control standards at cultivation facilities. They also expressed broader concerns about environmental impacts. We also received recommendations to modify the list of sensitive uses and buffer distances. Industry advocates, social equity applicants, and the Farm Bureau asked to narrow the list of qualifying sensitive uses and buffers, citing concerns that broader definitions would significantly reduce the number of viable locations for cannabis businesses. In contrast, community groups and certain community members and public health advocates supported expanding the list and buffers. They also raised concerns about overconcentration of mixed light or greenhouse facilities, as well as outdoor cultivation. In addition, staff received comments from public health advocates who opposed cannabis use altogether. These comments focus on public health concerns such as addiction, mental health, and youth drug prevention. There were also concerns about impaired driving related to cannabis consumption at lounges and temporary events. We'll now move into 3 decision points that require direction from the board. The first decision point relates to land use regulations. After the public comment period ended, staff met with community planning and sponsor groups, industry advocates, and social equity applicants to address their concerns. Based on that outreach, staff developed 3 program options for the board's consideration. Direction today will help staff understand the board's policy goals and ensure those goals are reflected in the draft ordinances. Each program option balances and aligns with state law, stakeholder input, and equitable access to the cannabis market. All options include the same core safeguards, but differ in 3 key areas. The first, buffer distances and the definition of sensitive uses, which affect how close facilities can be located to homes and community services. The second, separation requirements, which influence the potential for clustering or overconcentration. And third, cultivation limitations, which determine the type and scale of cannabis cultivation that would be allowed. These variables will influence where cannabis facilities can locate, compatibility with surrounding uses, and market accessibility. Here are the 3 program options. I'll briefly highlight the key differences. Option A requires a 600-foot buffer from schools, daycares, and youth centers. This option aligns with state law and is preferred by future applicants, agricultural groups, and industry advocates. It provides the greatest number of eligible locations and the highest level of market accessibility. Options B and C both require 1,000-foot buffers from an expanded list of sensitive uses, along with additional buffers for certain cultivation types. These measures respond to stakeholder concerns related to odor, environmental impacts, and land use compatibility. As a result of these expanded buffers, both options B and C allow for fewer locations than option A. Option B and C also include separation requirements, a 1,000-foot separation between facilities and a half-mile separation for certain cultivation types. These requirements are intended to reduce potential odor impacts and limit overconcentration in order to address quality of life concerns and compatibility concerns. Where options B and C differ is that option C prohibits outdoor cultivation and includes additional sensitive uses, making it the most restrictive option. Option B, with fewer sensitive uses than option C, allows for more potential retail locations and is viewed as more attractive to potential applicants. Option B expands community protections beyond state standards while maintaining sufficient locations to support equitable participation and industry viability. Option C would result in a smaller, more limited cannabis industry, but with the highest levels of safeguards to address local concerns. Moving to decision point 2, staff are seeking direction from the board on whether to retain or remove on-site consumption lounges and temporary cannabis events from the draft socially equitable cannabis program. During outreach, staff heard significant opposition from community groups to these uses. Concerns included impaired driving, odors, traffic, secondhand smoke, impacts on law enforcement resources, and challenges related to access control. As currently proposed, temporary cannabis events would be limited to 2 operating days and could occur no more than 6 times per year at a single site. Events would be required to include security, lighting, odor management, and waste control plans. Consumption lounges would be allowed only as an accessory use to a retail storefront and would be required to include ventilation, odor control, and on-site security. Alcohol, tobacco, and cannabis-infused foods would not be permitted. This decision point reflects extensive stakeholder input received through the outreach process. The board previously directed staff to incorporate and respond to those comments, and the framework presented today reflects that direction by clearly outlining operating standards, the safeguards, implementation considerations, and concerns we've heard.
Next is decision point 3. The board directed staff to pursue a community equity contribution program, or CECP, in 2022. Staff was directed to explore the potential of incentives that will provide direct benefits to the community where these facilities and operations are located. The intent of the CECP would be specific to cannabis facilities and could include funding for education, community beautification, and other community-related benefits as part of the overreaching cannabis program. Staff has identified an approach to the CECP that would allow cannabis businesses that provide a community benefit to apply for grants up to $5,000 per business with a matching component. We recommended businesses work with community to implement community benefits. Possible benefits could be improvement of parks, community art, or murals, tree planting, micro grants, community gardens, historical markers or place card, bike racks, and local staff hiring. To qualify, cannabis businesses must be up to date on their taxes and provide an ongoing community benefit. If the board directs the Office of Equity and Racial Justice to continue to develop the CECP, additional programming details will be provided in the summer for board consideration, and the program will begin in fiscal year 27-28. Program funding would be from the existing social equity program budget.
Staff recommends that the board find that the proposed actions are not subject to the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, pursuant to Section 1506B3. Any future actions will be reviewed in compliance with CEQA and presented to the board for consideration prior to approval. Staff is seeking the board's direction on 3 decision points. The first decision point relates to land use program options to ensure staff understands the board's policy goals. The board may select one of the program options as presented or direct modifications, including allowed facility types, sensitive uses, buffer distances, and separation requirements. The second decision point is whether to retain or remove on-site consumption lounges and temporary cannabis events from the draft socially equitable cannabis program. And the third decision point is whether to continue developing the community equity program, contribution program, through community incentive grants, which would allow cannabis businesses that provide a community benefit to apply for rebates or grants based upon their cannabis tax payment status. This concludes staff's presentation, and we're available to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Do any of my colleagues have any immediate questions? If not, we'll start with public comment. Okay, we'll go ahead and move to public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. We do have 59 total requests to speak, 44 individuals in person, and 15 requesting to speak by phone, and 6 group presentations. Also like to note for the record, we did receive 83 e-comments on this item. 57 were in favor, 21 were in opposition, and 0 were neutral. For any individuals that request to speak on this item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We will go ahead and begin with the group presentations. You will have 10 minutes to address the board. All 3 members of the group must speak during that 10 minutes. Please self-regulate your time with the timer on the podium. I'd like to invite forward the first group presentation that include the following individuals: Robert Wood, Michelle Keverkeen, my apologies if I mispronounced that, and Charles Alexander. And then as a reminder, so each person in the group may speak for no more than 4 minutes. And as you come forward, if you could please state your name at the podium before you begin your presentation.
Oh, state our name before we begin the presentation or before I begin to speak?
Just everyone could come up and state their name before I start the time, yeah.
Okay, I'm Robert Wood.
I'm Michelle Kevorkian.
Brother Charles, 3X.
Okay, thank you so much. And then whoever's going first, we can go ahead and start the time as soon as you're ready.
Okay, give me just a moment.
Okay.
We can start the timer. My name is Robert Wood. I am a social equity cannabis applicant. I reside in District 4. I do gun and gang violence throughout San Diego, California, and throughout the county of San Diego. Additionally, I'm an advocate. I advocate for different causes, including criminal justice reform and youth justice reform. The reason I'm here today is because cannabis, social equity cannabis specifically, is very important to me. In the unincorporated area of San Diego County, I see an opportunity. I don't see something that's going to tear anything up or anything like that. I see an opportunity for revenue inflow. I see an opportunity for jobs. I see an opportunity for increased success in those areas. Fixing streets, fixing roads with some of the money that comes in. New foot traffic, new vehicle traffic, job creation, wealth creation actually. And so with all the opportunity that social equity cannabis involves, I would ask, why would one go against it? And the reason I would ask that is because of this, very simply. Cannabis is now legal in the state of California. The state of California has looked at it, people have laid out their case, and they've put together a set of rules for us. Those set of rules are included in option A, where there's the 600-foot buffer, which is 2 football fields. Anybody been to a football game? 2 football fields, that's a lot of space. So when you have a buffer of 2 football fields, and away from that buffer to protect the children, anybody who needs protecting, then let's talk about the safety, right? So do we want cannabis infected with fentanyl flowing into these communities? No, we don't. The opportunity to stop that lies in expanding cannabis. Social equity is the way to do that. So as we expand cannabis and increase inflows of tax revenues, increase jobs, increase foot traffic for the businesses throughout the unincorporated areas of San Diego County, including places like El Cajon, and give people, just like they did after alcohol, who were involved in cannabis, the opportunity to now make it right, to now be the people who say, you know what, we're not going to add any additional drugs to cannabis. We're not going to poison your cannabis. We're going to pay our taxes. We're going to come into your communities, and my community, because I'm in District 4. I'm over there in Joel Anderson's district. We're going to come into your communities, and when we come into your communities, and I come into all you guys' communities doing gun and gang violence interruption, I'm about community safety. So we're going to come into your communities, and we're going to bring safe cannabis. It's going to be inspected. If we do something wrong with cannabis, if fentanyl comes into our cannabis stream, that's it. They know where it came from. We do not threaten the community with our activities. We are only here to enhance the communities where we are allowed to operate, whether through growing, through dispensaries, through delivery, and those are jobs that we bring to these areas. So in order to reap all the benefits of cannabis and to have equity, right? Because the state of California already has something approved, and it would be real inequitable to add to that buffer by more than 66%, which is what one of the proposals is, and the other proposal is just don't do it at all. That would be inequitable. That would deprive these areas in the unincorporated part of San Diego of all these cannabis benefits. I thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Michelle Kevorkian, and I am in District 3. I'm a college graduate, a mother, a construction business owner who does business in many districts in San Diego. I'm a volunteer who regularly gives back to the community throughout San Diego. I'm here today to support Option A and the 600-foot buffer aligned with state standards. From a land use and zoning perspective, Buffer distance are mathematical. Each additional sensitive use in each buffer expansion exponentially reduces partial feasibility. Options that layer expanded buffers and separate requirements sharply reduce workable site and undermine regulatory effectiveness. The state's 600-foot buffer reflects regulatory experience and legal precedents, protecting schools, daycares, and youth centers while preserving enough geographic flexibility for regulations to function effectively. In construction and development, over-restrictions does not eliminate activity, it displaces it, increasing enforcement costs and reducing transparency. Option A is the most legally defensible path forward, aligned with state standards and within the existing program environmental impact report. As a mother, I support meaningful protection. As a construction professional, I support enforceable rules. As a volunteer, I care about outcomes that strengthen communities rather than pushing activities underground. Supporting option A is not permissive, it is reasonable land use policy. San Diego leads when regulations is balanced, enforceable, and grounded in sound planning principles. Thank you for your time.
Peace, everybody. My name is Charles 3X, and I'm coming here as a board member for Mount Hope Community and also as a security specialist. I am here to speak on the importance of Measure A. It makes it much easier for people in our community, Mount Hope, and the 4th District to move easier. It takes away a lot of these rules and regulations that these corporate entities have. We don't have these finances to where we can hire these people to do these different jobs. It makes it much easier for us to hire people within the community to do these jobs. It makes it much easier for us to take the tax dollars and go into our parks. If you know about Mount Hope, we're the only community in San Diego that has 2 parks, Dennis V. Allen and Gompers Park, that neither one of them have a gym or recreation facility, none of that. We are the gatekeepers of the dead. We have 2 cemeteries in Mount Hope, one on Hilltop, one on Market Street. We have a cemetery, we host a cemetery 6 days a week in that community. No park, no gym, no recreation, none of that. No little leagues, none of that. So we need Measure A to put the funds back into this community and rebuild this community. Thank you so much.
But, hold on. With all of this being said.
Robert, you've already used your 4 minutes.
Oh,
So yeah,
okay,
if
sorry.
any one of your other group members wants to finish the time,
Okay, thank you.
you're very welcome. Thank you.
Can I just remind folks, first of all, thank you so much for being here and participating. I see a lot of people who don't normally come to our board meetings. So just want to remind everyone, there's no clapping in the chamber. If you would like to voice your support for something someone else said, you can twinkle silently. But if you are clapping, I'm unfortunately going to have to ask you to leave the chamber. So thank you very much.
Okay, we'll go to our next group. I'd like to invite forward Vincent Stallcup, Wiley Greeno, and Brian Scott. And just as a reminder, you'll have 10 minutes to address the board. All 3 members must speak during that 10 minutes. Please self-regulate your time, and no one person can speak for more than 4 minutes. And then if you could please introduce yourself before your comments.
Yes, sir.
Each person, please, as you come up.
As we go? Okay.
No, as you come up.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Hi, my name is Vincent John Stallcup.
I'm Wally Greeno. And I'm Brian Scott.
Thank you.
So do I begin now?
Yes, you can. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, representatives. I'm here from Spring Valley, so I have no mayor, no council members, none of that to go to. You guys are my only representatives, so I'm here to let you know I'm your constituent in District 1. I'm from La Presa. I was proud to vote for you. Monica, you're part of Spring Valley as well. District 4, Casadero. You know I've always supported you since the city way back when, so just want to let you guys know good morning. I'm happy to be here and speak to you all. So like I said, I'm a resident and constituent of District 1. I've been living there. My parents have been homeowners there for over 20 plus years. My mother serves our community as a teacher. My father's been a football coach at a local high school, which is where I got my education. Now I'm furthering my education at San Diego State in a social work program, which is why I'm here to advocate. Civic engagement and social justice is my passion, so I'm here for that. So I just wanted to bring to your guys' attention, in La Presa, we have 7 liquor stores, 3 bars, no dispensaries, and 1 pharmacy. So I just wanted to put that out there in the name of accessibility and access to safe cannabis and cannabis in general. As a social worker, it's my duty to speak up for vulnerable populations such as seniors like my parents. My mother is a cancer survivor. My father has had multiple heart failures and is now on a pacemaker. And people that are dealing with terminal illness, older ages, cannabis is very useful for medical purposes, and there's no access to that in my community at all, and I wanted to share that. Also, mental health needs. I'm a father. My oldest is autistic, so I'm an advocate for anybody with autism, and a lot of adults I know with autism use it for sensory overloads and overstimulation. Also PTSD, ADHD. This is very great for stress responses. So I just wanted to bring all that up in the name of accessibility for my community. Also, and this all comes back to a social equity program due to the failed war on drugs that was implemented by government agencies and systemic racism. And if you plan to right your wrongs for that, why would you create additional barriers or support additional barriers on any applicant or anybody that wants to open up that has been a victim of the war on drugs? That is all I have to say. I'm Vincent, and I'm here for Spring Valley, and I'm in support of option A. Thank you.
I just want to say, my name is Wally Greeno. I support option.
Sir, yeah, we can't hear you.
Oh, my
Thank
bad.
you.
My name is Wally Greeno. I just want to say I support option A. I live in District 1, too.
I always wanted to do this. I never thought I'd be so nervous. I appreciate everybody's attention that's willing to pay attention. It doesn't seem like everybody's really willing to pay attention, but everybody that's here, I see everybody looking at all the speakers in their eye, and I appreciate y'all for that. But I'm here to speak about Measure A. Me and my friend Vincent, we have a lot of the same problems. My daughter's autistic. I grew up a part of this community. I played Pop Warner, El Cajon, Spring Valley, like all that growing up. I participated in all rec events growing up as a youth. And I randomly helped youth as a kid. You know, people, back in my generation, we drove around with basketball shorts underneath. We'll hop out, play with a kid that's just sitting there in front of their yard doing whatever they're doing, right? So I feel like for Measure A, safety is going to be the number one thing. I feel like Measure A would make safety it would make safety not, the word I'm looking for. I literally just wrote it down. I'm sorry. It would make our district safer, and it would not make safety a privilege. That's the word I'm looking for. Sorry. That's the word I'm looking for. I appreciate your guys' attention. Let me speak. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. We'll go to our next group, Group 3.
Before you go, I just want to thank you all for sharing your experience with your own kids. My daughter's on the autism spectrum, and I appreciate you sharing that publicly.
Thank you. So I'd like to invite forward Group 3, Shelby, I believe it's Huffaker, Daniel Schalder, and Megan Erlies. My apologies with the last names if I mispronounce those. And just again, as a friendly reminder, if you could all come up and introduce yourself before your comments, 10 minutes total. You can't speak for more than 4 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Shelby Huffaker, and I'm here on behalf of the San Diego chapter of Americans for Safe Access.
Sorry, can each person introduce themselves? Thank you. Sorry.
Good morning, Daniel Shadler.
Blessed greetings, Megan Erlies.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. I'm here on behalf of the San Diego chapter of Americans for Safe Access. We are part of a national nonprofit comprised of medical cannabis patients, caregivers, medical professionals, researchers, and stakeholders working to expand safe access to cannabis for therapeutic use and research. We appreciate the opportunity to comment on the county's draft Cannabis Environmental Impact Report. I will be speaking to decision point number 1, land use, and our position is option A, align with state standards. First, aligning with state standards ensures equitable and sufficient access for medical cannabis patients. A wide range of national and international health agencies now recognize the therapeutic potential of cannabis. In California, roughly 5% of residents, or about 1.9 million people, are registered patients. Applying that rate locally suggests around 25,000 patients in the unincorporated county alone. For these residents, cannabis should be as accessible as other medications. Expanding buffer distances or creating additional sensitive use categories would shrink access in exactly the areas where patients need it most. For example, adding residential care facilities as sensitive uses would disproportionately hurt older adults, palliative care patients, and people with limited mobility, the very groups most likely to benefit therapeutically. It also conflicts with state law, which requires these facilities to allow patients to use medical cannabis that they purchase. Second, aligning with state zoning standards is necessary for the success of the county's socially equitable cannabis program. A 1,000-foot buffer would dramatically shrink the number of viable parcels for operators, especially when combined with overly broad definitions of sensitive uses. Under current county criteria, parks can include trails, easements, community centers, open space preserves, ecological reserves, and even county-managed landmark sites or monuments, effectively excluding large geographic areas from eligibility. Similarly, treating places of worship as sensitive uses is problematic because they can be opened quickly in private residences, and not all faith traditions object to cannabis. For equity operators with limited capital and fewer opportunities to relocate or litigate, such restrictions could be devastating. Aligning with state standards is necessary to uphold the county's stated equity commitments. Finally, aligning with state standards supports public health and economic goals. California's unregulated market still dominates sales. Expanding the regulated market improves product safety, reduces underage access, and increases tax revenue. Research also shows that legalization has not increased youth cannabis use, and cannabis can reduce consumption of more harmful substances like opioids and alcohol. For all of these reasons, we urge the board to adopt option A and align zoning requirements with state standards. Thank you for your time and consideration. I will now pass it over to the next speaker, Daniel Shadler, to talk about our position on decision point number 2.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm a resident of District 4 and have worked in the legal cannabis industry for the last 8 years. I'm here to strongly support option A, focusing on lounges and regulated events for patients. Many patients live in apartments, shared housing, or a family where consuming of cannabis at home isn't possible. Lounges provide a safe and legal space for patients to consume cannabis responsibly without fear of eviction or fines. Lounges and events offer critical hands-on education. Patients can learn about dosage, product types, and alternative consumption methods, helping them use cannabis safely and effectively. Option A ensures patients a safe place to consume cannabis within our communities. We urge the board to move forward with the option. Thank you.
Chair and supervisors, blessed greetings. Thank you for your time and your service. My name is Begain Erlise. I'm a San Diego County resident and combat veteran, and I'm here because I love my community. I also serve a Roll Up for Equity, a community effort hosted by San Diego Americans for Safe Access, San Diego Normal, and the Blue Dream Democratic Club. We gather resident voices on equity and proximity because too many decisions are made like our neighborhoods won't accept regulated cannabis, when the truth is we will accept regulation. What we won't accept is a model that extracts from our community instead of repairing it. I grew up here during the war on drugs. I watched my streets get treated like hunting grounds. I watch households reorganize around absence, one less adult, one less paycheck, one more kid trying to be strong too early. People were taken in their teens and 20s, the years that form your judgment, your confidence, your direction, the years that decide the kind of adult you get to be. And the whole neighborhood had to live around the empty space they left, raising kids in the gaps. Now cannabis is legal and profitable. But legalization without repair is just a new economy built on the old wound. If the communities that carry the enforcement are still last in line for ownership, last in line for investment, and last in line for opportunity, then we have not moved forward in any real way. That is why on agenda item 3, I'm asking you to continue developing the county's socially equitable cannabis program and continue developing the CECP community incentive grants. Keep building it with urgency and follow through. And I want to be specific about land use. I support the state-aligned 600-foot buffer. Here's why. Because sitting rules decide whether equity is real or just theoretical. A buffer that wipes out most viable locations becomes a silent ban. The 600-foot standard keeps protections for youth-serving spaces, but it also opens up realistic locations so cannabis businesses can be in neighborhoods they're meant to serve. Hiring from those neighborhoods, operating compliantly there, and generating tax revenue that can be reinvested back into the same communities that were most impacted by the war on drugs. Equity businesses shouldn't be pushed miles away from the people and places they're supposed to strengthen. If the county is going to talk about community benefit, then make it something we can verify, define it, require proof, report it publicly, enforce it, and build this program so equity applicants can survive it. Predictable timelines, realistic pathways to compliant locations, and practical support, because a door that's technically open but practically locked is not access. When equity when equity businesses can open legally, then benefits are not theoretical. There's local hiring, tax revenue, reinvestment, safer corridors, stronger families, and a lift in morale when people finally see dollars returning instead of people disappearing. This is how you can change the environment our children grew up in. You don't get credit for intention. Intentions don't rebuild families, outcomes do. Our neighborhoods paid into a system that took people and left trauma behind. Now it's time to balance the ledger. Continue SECP and CECP. Make community benefit enforceable and make reinvestment in impacted neighborhoods a fact, not a promise. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next group, Group 4. I'd like to invite forward Nathaniel Shufflin, Eduardo Bautista, and Rafael. And as you're coming forward again, you'll have 10 minutes to address the board. All 3 members must speak during that 10 minutes. Please self-regulate your time at the podium. And each person may speak no more than 4 minutes. And if you could please all introduce yourself before you begin your comments.
Good morning. My name is Eduardo Bautista.
Good morning. My name is Rafael Crawford.
Good morning. My name is Nathaniel Shufflin. Our group represents the fact that this board has the ability to approve and move forward on a plan that the state has already approved and done plenty of research to make sure it's following many of the existing laws that we have here. San Diego does regulate things like alcohol more strictly, but if you look into the history of it, those regulations are placed onto the ABCs, the rules that the state already has, as they are needed. I remember people getting drunk and drinking on the beaches and the problems that it caused. San Diego addressed those and corrected them because they were problems, not because they were a new industry that had popped up in their mind or in their, experience, and they were regulating it before it happened. This industry deserves the exact same treatment as any other industry that serves adults. And we're just a new industry. That's the only difference, because we have been oppressed for a very long time. It is also important to recognize that the environmental regulations that we have here in San Diego are also state-driven, and that our land use, which I also am on the spectrum myself, and I read the land use regulations on a regular basis because of my job. I keep up on it, and I understand that we do need to take good care of our land, and you are dealing with a group of people that, when given the opportunity, will do that, take good care of the land, especially with regulation and enforcement. The most important thing in all of this is that we recognize that everybody in here is in some way or another supporting another industry somewhere that's doing potentially more harm than the cannabis industry has been doing. If nothing else, if you consume or allow alcohol in your worldview, it has shown that cannabis actually reduces the consumption of alcohol. And I do believe that is part of why we have so much resistance, is the alcohol industry does not want that to move forward. The other thing is the board has just recently approved in 2021, I believe, the allowing of wineries and agricultural temporary use permits where people can join and drink alcohol out in the county. This is exactly what we're talking about as far as giving unfair treatment, I guess, to the cannabis industry, saying that there's no way that the cannabis industry can do this because it would be unsafe driving, things like that. But then you go and approve alcohol's use in the county in agricultural temporary use, and that kind of lets us know that there was at least enough advocacy on the wineries' parts to make this happen. And we're just asking for fair treatment and not to be treated in a dissimilar way because our industry is newer because of oppression. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm choosing for, my name is Raphael Crawford. I am OSHA outreach trainer. And our teaching our training, though, we don't have nothing on cannabis. And so I just say that, though, just, the disillusion of the dangers. Everything that's being built, people are using cannabis. Me personally, I don't indulge. I'm advocating for option A on this agenda. I want to speak on the distance in reference to odor control. And when you get to talking about, odor control, when, you're next to farms and being next to in TJ and you're dealing with the odors right there, though, you just deal with it. I don't know how the regulations or what more can go into the environmental aspects. So the state's 600 feet buffer zone, to me, is fair. I love the fact that many of the advocates brought up the war on drugs and its impact on families. It gives a lot of us who were impacted like a new leash on life. And the fact that it helps so many with autism as well as other, debilitating injuries and diseases is definitely a plus. One of the things I have to speak about is when it comes to the distance on it, when people want something, they can have it delivered anyway. So there's people who are where cannabis is not even legal at, but we all know that they'll have it flown in or they're going to smuggle it in. It's important to know that access. Now, I speak on that because of access to it, okay? Creating these nonsensical buffer zones and hypotheticals. If I was to sit there and push hypotheticals in construction, nothing to get built. And so I say that to just enforce the impact of, of the health of it. The last thing I want to speak about is the importance and the duties, and I know that you guys all care about and love your constituency, is the duties of fentanyl being put into cannabis that needs to be stopped, and it's on the illegal market, and people are going to sit there and they're going to do what they want to do anyway, whether we like it or not. And I think it's very important that we don't overly restrict it and have a carrot on the stick when it comes to the rules and regulations of the cannabis shops and just let it be fully regulated, though. We had ability to take away that illegal option and bring in revenue, serious revenue, to where you don't have issues like what's going on at Balboa Park because funding is low in one place. So this is funding that's magically disappears right there for you. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Thank you for allowing us this time to speak. My name is Eduardo Batista. I am a resident, small business owner, and father of 4. I live in District 2, Mountain Empire community. I'm here to say that option A is the only reasonable and sensible option. Option A recognizes a fundamental planning reality. Rural and semi-rural areas within District 2 are not urban environments, and land use policy must reflect the difference. Applying overly restrictive urban-style buffers and prohibitions to large parcels does not improve safety or compatibility. It simply eliminates reasonable access. The 600-foot buffer from sensitive land use included in option A is both responsible and sufficient. It aligns with established planning standards, protects schools and youth-serving uses, and appropriately scales to parcel size and rural context. Anything beyond 600 feet in these areas becomes exclusionary rather than protective. As a parent, public health and safety matter deeply to me. This is why regulated access is critical. When legal access is pushed out of reach through excessive restrictions, families are not protected. They're forced into longer travel, unregulated delivery, or illicit markets. Option A avoids this by allowing safe, regulated, locally accessible access. Option A also appropriately allows for consumption lounges. For many adults, especially renters, multi-generational households, or visitors, on-site consumption is the safest and most reasonable option. Lounges provide controlled environments, trained staff, and clear rules, reducing impacts on public spaces. Finally, allowing outdoor and mixed light cultivation in District 2 is both logical and consistent with rural land use principles. These methods are well suited to agricultural and large lot zoning, reduce energy use, and support sustainability goals while allowing small operators to participate in a regulated market. Option A is not about allowing cannabis everywhere. It's about allowing reasonable access somewhere. Balanced, regulated, and fair. It protects community character while ensuring rural and semi-rural residents are not effectively excluded from legal access. I respectfully urge you to adopt option A, reject alternatives that would, in practice, zone legal cannabis out of District 2 altogether. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. We'll go to our next group. Group 5, which consists of Eileen Delaney, Stephanie Baxter, Jenny Domerks. Domer. You'll have 10 minutes to address the board. All 3 speakers of the group must speak during that 10 minutes. If you can please self-regulate your time, and just as a reminder, no one member can speak more than 4 minutes. And if you could please all introduce yourself before your comments.
Good morning, Eileen Delaney, Chair of the Fallbrook Planning Group.
Good morning, Janine DeMarc, Fallbrook Planning Group.
Good morning, Stephanie Baxter, Fallbrook Planning Group.
Thank you for having us. I'm going to go off script a little bit. I have all these notes, so if I stop for a second, please excuse me. I want you to know I am a recent survivor of cancer. I'm in remission right now, and I have 2 members of my family that have autism. But this is not about whether or not we support cannabis. It's not about whether we care if other people use it or not. This is about the residents and what is available to them, and the impact that it will have on these residents in the unincorporated areas. The Fallbrook Planning Group carefully studied the draft EIR, the PEIR, after spending countless hours working with a diverse group of residents, some who use cannabis, some that don't. We determined and really concluded that it was outdated and it was deficient. However, we submitted 14 pages of evidence and fact-based comments with citations on the enormous negative impacts on public safety, environment, health, crime, and other subjects, including the class action lawsuit in Carpinteria, where the class won for odors. I'm also the chair, or vice chair, I should say, of the Association of Planning Groups. And at a recent meeting, every single planning group member, chairman that was there representing their area voiced opposition to this program. There are over 500,000 people that live in the unincorporated areas and towns. And until recently, most of them had no knowledge about this program. And I can say from the input that we've received lately, they are opposed to this. We are opposed to it too. The Fallbrook Planning Group voted, and we're opposed to the program. And obviously, we support option 4, which is not to develop the program. However, we are also pragmatic. Being so, if you proceed with this program, we ask you to please ask the county staff to continue developing option C with no lounges and no events. These are the two most dangerous aspects of this program and would encourage impaired driving, which would endanger the lives of residents and drivers. And this is equity for the homeowners and for the residents of the unincorporated areas. If we're talking about equity, then we have to consider those of us that will take the impacts of this program that we're strongly opposed to and is being forced on us. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Janine Domark, and I'm on the Fallbrook Planning Group, and I was the chairperson on the Cannabis Ad Hoc Committee that the Fallbrook Planning Group formed. We had a really diverse group. As Eileen said, we had many people that use cannabis and many people that did not. We are not here to discuss if we support or don't support. The one thing that came very clear was that the entire committee, with lots of outreach, were against the land use impacts, which I'll speak about. They also all decided that we're not against a dispensary in the unincorporated areas. With zoning, our residential lots in most cases are right up against ag zoned, which is A70 and A72. This impacts residents with odors, lights, noise, fans, security, which include dogs, et cetera. Infrastructure. A high percentage of our roads in the unincorporated areas are private roads, and this means that the county does not maintain them. That maintenance falls on the residents of those roads. During harvest times, there would be trucks using these private roads, which are mainly in the ag areas, butting up against the residential. It degrades the conditions, and money would be needed to repair would fall again on the residents. Communities with these programs have seen an increase in calls for fire, sheriff, and code compliance. These our services are already stretched to the limits in the unincorporated areas. Also, the tax dollars that people are speaking about go into our general fund, do not necessarily go back into the communities that will be affected the most, so we don't have funds to enhance these things that need them. And referenced in our 14-page reply to the draft EIR, the odor is among the top negative impacts. If you look at Carpinteria and Santa Barbara, the odor impact the entire community. Children could not go outside during recess. Outdoor dining at local restaurants and wineries went down significantly. Residents were unable to open their windows. Joggers, bicyclists, et cetera, were unable to enjoy the activities that they love the most. Grape growers, the products were actually impacted. Something that I learned is grapes' skins are permeable, and so it actually changed the products, of their wine. There was a class action suit in Santa Barbara and Carpinteria against a large grower, and the class won, and that was all revolving around odor. Over 5 years, they received over 3,000 complaints. If you narrow that down, it's about 2 a day, again, on odor. Farm labor is also being poached from groves, orchards. et cetera, because cannabis does pay higher labor wage, which is great. Everybody should get paid a higher wage. However, it puts local strain on local farmers and increased local food costs, and food security is at risk. We're just against the land use portion of this and how it will impact over 500,000 residents. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Stephanie Baxter, Fallbrook Planning Group. Thank you for hearing us this morning and for all of your work staff. Sadly, when we attended the December Planning Commission meeting where this was presented, it was obvious that the commissioners had not read the 14 pages of comments. As our chair mentioned, that the planning group spent hours and years developing. It was just quite obvious. And that was unfortunate. And I think it's worth noting that those comments that we were asked to provide were obviously not read. The PEIR is inadequate, as was mentioned. It's outdated, it's quite reckless and inequitable. The 550,000 residents of the unincorporated area were not properly notified of this massive scale project. Sure, we had lots of public meetings and there's info on the website and you know what's going on if you are subscribed to this, but for the majority of residents, it was not enough engagement and awareness for this project that will affect over 500,000 people. Today I'm speaking just to the environmental impacts only, which are in our packet of comments. One of the many reasons to pause and reassess this entire program should be that the data and lived experience from other counties who have adopted cannabis programs should be what we are looking at and studying as we're considering such a program. In California counties with cannabis programs, there are 0 positive environmental impacts, 0 benefit to the environment, only harm and hazard. Imagine a few short years from now if we live in a cannabis county. Areas like Fallbrook, Bonsall, Valley Center, Ramona, Lakeside, Alpine, Julian, the list goes on. If you are on a well, your groundwater supply is disappearing. You're having rodenticides, pesticides, and fertilizer chemicals in your watersheds. Water sampling analysis at local water districts are detecting higher chemical levels. Nocturnal species are being pushed out by light pollution and noise disturbance. You're not hearing the owls and coyotes anymore. And rodent problems are growing, which means more rattlesnakes. It's called the cycle of life out in the backcountry. The night pollinators, like bats and moths, are no longer pollinating the riparian areas. Things will change. The noise of barking dogs and generators will replace coyote choirs and owl hoots, as we know. The sound travels. What else travels? Odor travels. The stench on the breeze into your open bedroom and kitchen windows. There's no such thing as fresh air in the country anymore. Our scenic hills and vistas will be changed. When operators vacate, they leave trash, waste, and structures that are destroyed by weather and squatters. And it's an eyesore for neighbors, a fire hazard, and just an unknown what's going on at that property down the road. When law enforcement is called to inspect and address these grows, they are directed not to touch the pesticides on the shelf because they are so toxic. Over the 500,000 people who live in the unincorporated areas, residents, including equestrians, whose public trails are at risk with this ordinance, we depend on representation to protect and enhance our quality of life. I'm not speaking anything new or nothing that you haven't already heard, but if this is not paused, option C is the least impactful of options.
Thank you. Your time's up. All right, we will go to our 6th and final group. That consists of Dory Rattray, Chris Barber, and Matt Matthews. And then just again to note, you'll have 10 minutes to address the board.
I'm Dr. Matt Matthews from the Valley Center Planning Group. I'm the subcommittee chair for cannabis.
Sir, if you could just give me 1 second. So you have 10 minutes to address the board. All 3 members must speak during that 10 minutes. Please self-regulate your time. Each person may speak no more than 4 minutes. And if you could please introduce all yourself before you begin your comments. Thank you so much.
Dr. Matt Matthews.
Thank you.
Dory Rattray, Chair of the Valley Center Planning Group.
Chris Barber, Valley Center Planning Group.
Thank you. Go ahead and begin your comments.
Yes, I'm Dr. Matt Matthews. I'm a veterinarian of 40 years in the Valley Center area. I'd like to address the recent change in the drug that is present in cannabis and in hemp, and that's THC and the like compounds. They have been in the process of being rescheduled and are very close to being rescheduled as a Schedule 3. Now, this changes everything with cannabis, and I think the board needs to understand what those changes are. I have a DEA license and the ability to prescribe each level of the controlled substances, so I understand the process. Now, a Schedule 3 compound is, and what that will mean is that now it can be prescribed by a medical doctor or in a veterinarian in an exam room. And to do that, a diagnosis has to be made that's data-driven through laboratory assessment and through an educated, licensed medical professional. Now, when a prescription is written, now this is presented to a pharmacy, not a dispensary. So the pharmacy will get the prescription, and the patient then will get their prescription filled at Walgreens, Costco, Rite Aid, or any other pharmacist that is licensed by the state of California and also has a DEA license to handle and dispense a medication of a known amount that is prescribed by the medical doctor, and that this known amount will be pure from a pharmaceutical company that's free of chemicals and can be taken safely as prescribed. Now, these prescriptions will be required that a doctor reassesses the patient regularly, and at least on an annual basis, the prescription will need to be renewed. So with this said, it seems that the social equity idea that we've all been discussing here is now moot. I just would urge the board to realize that the pharmaceutical industry is using THC to create a pill form that is coming from hemp. Now, hemp is grown in the south of the U.S. It doesn't require irrigation in those areas. The plant can be grown safely because the THC level is very low. Has minimal impact on animal life because it's mostly fiber and a large plant. It's harvested by machinery. Now, the THC is purified through a chemical process and concentrated and then sold to the pharmaceutical company and created into pill form. Now, you know, marijuana is a kind of a special sort of cannabis, a special form of hemp that is highly concentrated and a more toxic form. Now, as a veterinarian, my life work is animal welfare, and I would like to say that animals, be it pets or wildlife, getting access to cannabis, and I'm talking marijuana now, especially in the potent form, creates them into a vulnerable state. And they either succumb to predators or they become roadkill. And that bothers me. It should bother this board as well. And so we need to protect the animal life, and that is my passion. And so my concern is more that, but just the board needs to be aware that the DEA is now in charge of THC.
And, sir, I'm going to pause your time.
Thank you.
One individual speaker cannot speak for more than 4 minutes. We'll need to hear from the additional speakers. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for the time. My name is Dory Rattray. I'm the chair of the Valley Center Planning Group. And as the planning chair, on March 31st, 2025, a letter was submitted to long-range planning declaring our vote representing about 22,000 residents of 11-1, alternative 1 at the time, and that was no new retail manufacturers, growers, retail locations, events, consumption lounges in Valley Center. We're here to discuss a program that, while ambitious, presents significant risks to the character and stability of our unincorporated communities. The county's own program, the PEIR, admits that even with strong safeguards, the impacts of odor, noise, and groundwater use remains significant and unavoidable. Our incorporated areas, where residents rely on well water and value quiet and rural nature of their neighborhoods, significant and unavoidable is not acceptable. It's not an acceptable standard for a new industry. We cannot, in good conscience, move forward with a program that acknowledges it will degrade the quality of life for existing residents. Beyond the environment, we must address social equity program and the CECP by creating complex tiered system based on historical criminalization. We're moving away from a merit-based regulatory framework. Setting up business based on social criteria rather than capital readiness in a highly volatile market often leads to business failure. Also, safety. Look at safety concerns regarding decision point 2. The proposal allows for temporary cannabis events and consumption lounges. It is a direct threat to our public safety. Our unincorporated roads are not designed, one-way roads are not designed for this increased traffic and potential for impaired drivers in these events that it would cause. The sheriffs know this. The Met team knows this. They're small in nature, and there is no way to track DUI currently as a result of cannabis, and you know that. The CECP proposes a system of tax rebates and grants that would begin costing general fund as early as 2027. We should not be using public revenue to subsidize a specific industry community contributions. And the feedback from our community planning and sponsor group or planning group has been clear. Many recommend maintaining the existing ban. Our groups and boots on the ground understand that a 600-foot or even 1,000-foot buffer is insufficient in rural topographies. We're a valley. So think about what Santa Barbara went through and the cost of that lawsuit. That would be a problem. So our recommendation is to significant and unavoidable to water, roads, administrative neutrality. It's not acceptable.
Chairperson Lawson Reamer and fellow Board of Supervisors, Chris Barber, Valley Center Planning Group. I'm a resident, born and raised San Diego, lived here all my life, live in Valley Center 7 years, on the planning group for 3 years, starting my 4th year, and a retired deputy, 32 years with the Sheriff's Department here in San Diego. I've got a lot of exposure to those that have used cannabis, but my point is this, that the Board of Supervisors commissioned the group to come and speak to us at Valley Center, and we had 5 different alternatives as to what we would vote on. But what I see here are only 3, so 2 of them are missing, and one of them is no project, retention of the current cannabis regulation. So that was on what was given to us, but yet it's not here on A, B, and C. And so I'm asking you to vote like we voted on the alternative 1, no project, retention of current cannabis regulations. In other words, you've got the 5 dispensaries here. It's accessible to the people who live in unincorporated area. If they want to access it, they can have it delivered. And I think that's a great option for them. Valley Center, we voted 11-1 against this. We are elected by our constituents in Valley Center, just like we all voted for you. Jim Desmond is our representative, and as was previously said, everyone in the unincorporated area, the planning groups, voted against this for the most part, but I definitely know it's District 5 for sure. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up and ask you to vote on that. I know that we have decision points on the land use regulations. Again, we would vote for D, which is not listed here, and also on the decision point 2, whether or not to allow consumption lounges. Option A would suit us, And on the community equity contribution programs, option B. So I thank you for listening to us, and we know you make the right vote. Thank you.
Thank you, and that concludes our group presentation. So now we'll begin with our in-person speakers. As your name is called forward, if you could please come stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You'll then have 1 minute to address the board. Please begin by stating your name for the audio record. I would be calling individuals in groups of 3, so please listen for your name. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Rashid Hamid, Eduardo Gonzalez, and Eden Carter Jr. And you can come forward in any order. Yeah, you're welcome.
My name is Eduardo Gonzalez. I've been a hostess and a party planner for San Diego for the past 14 years. And I see what the cannabis does for people after they party. They actually rehabilitate themselves to go home safety without causing any violence. So to me, it would be great to have more consuming lounges out there for the safety for the people being after 2 o'clock. It would give them a better option to be home safe. And another one would be the micro licensing would be great for the city, because then you know that everything that's been grown is legal and grown correctly, instead of grown in the fields with nobody really to take care of what's going on with the situation. So I think option A would be a lot more safety for all of us. So thank you for your help and your situation here. And we will all go forward correctly with this project. Thank you.
Thank you. And then recalling Rashida Hamid and Eden Carter Jr. Not seeing any movement in the chamber. We'll move on. Next 3 will be Jacob Moore, Albert, I believe it's Pepe, and William Hinks.
Good morning. I'm Jacob Moore, a local business owner operating in Districts 3 and 4, and I reside in District 4. I support option A because it strikes the most practical balance between regulation and opportunity. It follows state laws, maintains required buffers, and still enforces operational standards like odor control, security, and lighting. The concerns isn't proximity, it's performance. Bad operators should be held accountable, but responsible local business shouldn't be or should not be blocked by layers of discretionary zoning that increases and delays entry. Option A reduces barriers and keeps enforcement focused where it belongs, on behavior, not geography. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Albert Pepe. I'm just here to say I'm all for option A. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Thank you for having me. My name is William Hinks. I am a middle-aged black man. I am a lifelong resident of San Diego. I am here today because this social equity program is not abstract to me. It is personal. When I was a young child under the age of 4, I survived a life-altering tragedy. I suffered third-degree burns that left me with scars and chronic pain. As I got older, I used marijuana to cope with the pain and not to escape responsibility, but to survive it. Yet because of the war on drugs, I became one of the people criminalized for something that is now legal and regulated, that history follows people like me along after the pain and the punishment has passed. As you are aware, the goal of social equity program is to restore opportunity to people and communities harmed by cannabis criminalizations. I am one of those people. My life reflects the very criteria this program was designed for.
Thank you, sir. Call the next 3 speakers, Leila Hargrove, DeAndre Brooks, and Steven Stuchel.
Thank you for, before you started, thank you to all of you who are being so respectful and listening. I appreciate it. My name is Leela Hargrove, and I represent the Backcountry Coalition, which is comprised with over 15,000 businesses and 200,000 residents in our incorporated areas. This is not about being against or for cannabis. This should be about against rushing through the process, against making the same mistakes other counties have made and are now trying to correct, against dangerous pesticides, yes, in every industry, against using old data for making current decisions, and against pride. We should be for public safety, for protecting our other crops, for protecting our water and the environment, for protecting rural character, for protecting air quality, for protecting sensitive areas and populations, and for common sense. I would urge you to look at these current data, notify our constituents, residents, and stakeholders, and as for the money that was mentioned coming into communities, unincorporated areas have to apply for grants to get our tax dollars back.
Thank you.
Good morning, Supervisor Anderson, Ms. Raymer, Montgomery, Stepp, and Desmond. My name is DeAndre Brooks, and I'm here in strong support of option A because it is the only option that meaningfully addresses the harm caused by the war on drugs and creates an access for marginalized communities. For decades, cannabis enforcement in this county didn't just impact individuals, it devastated families and entire neighborhoods. These harms were concentrated in communities of color and low-income communities alike, and the effects are still being felt to this day. Repairing that damage requires policies that actually work. Option A matters because it aligns with state standards. Matching state requirements is not about lowering protections, it's about creating a framework that is realistic, enforceable, and accessible. When local rules go far beyond the state, they don't increase safety, they create barriers so high that they create barriers so high that legal participation becomes impossible. Someone spoke earlier about being last in line. Please take that into consideration when you consider all those other options. We're tired of being last in line in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Stephen Stuchel. I'm a 42-year-old father of two, and both of my children attend school in District 2, Joel Anderson. I'm a California native and resident in East County for over 40 years. I've been a homeowner in Ramona for the last 10, and my family has owned and operated towing and locksmith businesses in San Diego County for over 30 years. I've also owned my own business, All Street Towing and Recovery, based out of Ramona, California. I'm here in support of option A. Commercial properties, as of now, are very limited in rural unincorporated areas. Increasing buffering requirements would make it even harder and more unfair for cannabis businesses to find available commercial properties. Cannabis businesses shouldn't be pushed out simply because land options are already scarce. Districts like ours also deserve an opportunity to benefit from the tax revenue. Commercial development creates revenue that supports local service infrastructures and schools. Option A.
Thank you. Call the next three speakers: Alina Thompson, Katie Popinyak, and Madison Rapp.
Yes, hello everyone. Happy New Year to you. I'm here to urge that you vote for Alternative 1, or at least what was Alternative 1 till the staff report changed. That is no project. Please maintain the existing ban on cannabis in San Diego County. There's 3 very well-documented reasons why you should do this. Number 1, it's a well-documented fact that state cannabis program today is a failure. This is throughout California and the cities that have been mentioned by other speakers. It's exceedingly costly to administer. The county cannot possibly take on this budgetary item. The taxes promised never have materialized for the underserved communities that are seeking the tax revenue from legal cannabis. The black market is still alive and well throughout California, so trying to legalize it does not solve that problem.
And can you please state your name for the audio record?
Of course, Elena Thompson.
Thank you.
The
Your
cartels.
time's up.
Oh, I don't get 4 minutes like everyone else?
No, those are group presentations. So if you want a group presentation, you sign up with a group, and then the group gets 10 minutes, and each member of the group has a maximum of 4. When you're an
I'll do
individual
that next
speaker.
time. Thank you.
yeah.
Please vote no.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good morning, I'm Katie Papanyak, and I just don't see any logic to this program. For many, many years, I served foster youth at San Pasqual Academy and in group homes in far corners of our county. 80% of foster youth are in foster care because their parents had drug or alcohol issues and could not care for them. The adults I had in treatment were trying to get their children back after a series of arrests or prison time. I provided workforce development with goals of training people to make a sustainable wage. The wages in pot shops and cultivation are not sustainable in San Diego County and don't even provide benefits other than the perk of free weed. This program will not have a positive impact on the economic development, the cost of increased law and code enforcement, healthcare, providers, water use, and the strain on our environment is far greater. The impact statement says to protect safety and welfare, minimize potential negative impacts on communities and the environment. Thank you for considering the health and safety of all, not just the residents that thought they got a raw deal from the so-called war on drugs.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Madison. I urge you not to expand cannabis programs in San Diego County. The community and environmental impacts are serious and well documented. Cannabis cultivation is highly energy and water intensive at a time when San Diego County is facing increasing pressure on both of those resources. Mixed light and outdoor grows generate strong persistent odors that travel far beyond property lines and are extremely difficult to mitigate. Other counties, as has been said, have logged thousands of unresolved odor complaints, harming residents' quality of life and property values. Expanding this program would place a disproportionate burden on unincorporated communities that lack the infrastructure and resources to absorb these impacts. As leaders, you have a responsibility to create a safe and healthy environment for our children and teenagers. Public policy should prioritize environments that support healthy growth, learning, and well-being, not increase access and visibility of substances that pose known risks to youth. Please reject any further expansion.
Call for the next 3 speakers, Peggy Walker, Chris Adams, and Cesar Javier.
Good morning, Peggy Walker. I want to thank Valley Center and Fallbrook for expressing the concerns so many of us have about marijuana expansion. When this program was first presented by county staff to planning groups and the publics, it was presented with 5 alternatives, most notable among them, Alternative 1, which was no project, as has been mentioned. But now, and that was strongly favored by planning groups and the public. But now we see in the newest staff report that that has been replaced by decision points. And it makes us wonder what happened to Alternative 1, which was favored by the public and planning groups. It seems like bait and switch when a clearly defined alternative that reflected broad community support has been removed and replaced with decision points that were never vetted in the same public-facing way. I want to say this erodes public trust in the system.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Adams coming up, and then I'll invite for the next 2 speakers, Sarah Anarchy and Oliver Twist.
Hello, my name is Chris Adams. I'm a resident of Escondido. I work as a mechanical engineer in La Jolla. I've been a resident in San Diego County for over 20 years. I'm an entrepreneur who's worked in live events and food catering businesses and owned my own businesses throughout the years. So I'd support option A all the way. As a business owner, we're not looking for more regulations to be added on top of what's already been, the state has approved through, the voters of California legalizing cannabis. So I just want to state my support for option A, and I do not believe that any new regulations is going to be the way to go to help all these new businesses start. And As far as the live events and all that, I'm for that as well. And there's safe ways to provide access to live events through cannabis use. There's no doubt about it. Thank you, board, for your time and everyone that working on this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Anaraki. I'm a District 4 resident, mother of 3 young boys, and a small business owner. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to express my support for option A. I believe people have the right to access safe and regulated cannabis, and the underground market cannabis can be very dangerous. Products obtained illegally may be contaminated, laced with substances such as fentanyl, posing serious public health risks. For adults who choose to use cannabis, being forced to purchase it from illicit markets also puts them at risk by interacting with unsafe and unknown individuals. Supporting option A would allow regulated access, improve consumer safety, and reduce reliance on the underground market. It would also generate much needed tax revenue and create jobs in these unincorporated areas rather than pushing residents to spend their monies in other parts of San Diego. People want to invest and support in their own communities. For many individuals, cannabis provides significant relief and is a far safer alternative than the wide range of pharmaceutical medications, aligning with local policy.
Thank you. And as Oliver Twist is coming up, I'd like to invite forward allegedly Audra and then Larissa Anderson.
The timer is not displaying here.
Is it there?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Oliver Twist, AKA Mary Davis, and as a matter of full disclosure, I am a member of the Alpine Community Planning Group, but I am speaking today as a private citizen. I am adamantly opposed against this measure because of the harms of marijuana and the high THC. And if we go back to the war on drugs, which I'm glad people have referenced, the harm that was done during that period is real and needs to be acknowledged. But what is never really asked is why was the Black and brown community targeted with poison that ruined their minds, bodies, and futures? And if we fast forward to now what's going on with the high THC levels, I encourage everybody to read the book from Alex Berenson, Tell Your Children, about the links to mental health and violence, schizophrenia, psychosis from the high THC levels. Lastly, please refer to San Diego City contracting. I want fair equity on this, not like we saw in Phoenix with a white couple coming in, renting brown people for engagement, getting bonus points. You need real Black and brown owned businesses. Thank you.
Who'd have thought we'd be talking about drugs, you guys? I mean, how crazy is that? It gets you guys to pay attention. I mean, obviously not to me, but everybody else that you guys are benefiting from. Because you can talk about children being abused and you guys don't even give a shit. So it's interesting. I feel like, you know, you guys should brought some samples, but you probably already gave them to the board because they're gonna pass this. You guys might sprinkle in a couple things here and there to pretend that you want regulations, but I don't know if we could also recommend making the chambers a consumption lounge. I feel like that would make everything go a lot smoother, you know, a lot easier to handle. I mean, because this is like a comedy show. But yes, so what else was I going to say? Who knows, because you guys are gonna pass it, and I just find it interesting, like what gets you guys to pay attention. Didn't know it would have been drugs, but it's good to know. And there's a lot of things that are interesting when you say it's legal and profitable. The black market was way more profitable, and it's going to go back there one day soon.
And then Larissa, since you are the chair for the Baldwinsville Community Sponsor Group and speaking on behalf of that group, you'll have 5 minutes.
Good morning, honorable supervisors. Thank you for your service, and thank you for the 5 minutes giving my elected roles. My name is Larissa Anderson. I'm the president of the Baldwinsville Unified School District for 6 consecutive years. I am the chair of the Baldwinsville Community Sponsor Group. I am here because I love my community. I am here because I love San Diego County. I am here today because I love the United States of America. I am here today because I love planet Earth. Both Baldwinsville Unified School District and Baldwinsville Community Sponsor Group independently, unanimously submitted letters urging no option on this ordinance. I also spoke before the Planning Commission before this proposal was advanced with even fewer protections. What's before you today is not simply a cannabis policy. It is a land use decision with irreversible educational, public health, and moral consequences, especially for rural communities. Let me ground this in reality. Bonsall Unified spans 88 square miles of semi-rural San Diego County. In the absence of appropriate state and local facilities funding, we have tried to build adequate secondary facilities, educational facilities, through multiple failed bond measures, each undermined by NIMBY obstructionist politics for decades. We have land constraints, we have infrastructure constraints, we have zoning obstacles that make it extraordinarily difficult to site a new school. At its core, our work in education is about designing spaces to flourish, places that support learning, purpose, health, teamwork, and long-term community stability. And yet, here is the paradox I need you to sit with. We cannot fast-track a school, but under this ordinance, we can fast-track industrial-scale cannabis cultivation, including proximity to existing and future school sites under the banner of social equity. So let me propose a hypothetical but legally plausible one under the framework you are considering. Imagine a future Bonsall secondary campus, finally built through a public-private partnership because traditional funding failed us. Now, imagine a large-scale cannabis grow operation co-located next door, approved more quickly than the school itself. Students arriving each morning to learn. Student athletes training, practicing, and competing as close as only 600 feet away. That's 1.67 football fields away. Young people spending formative hours breathing particulates, handling plant material, and normalizing daily proximity to a product we simultaneously warn them to avoid. Is this the legacy you want attached to your vote? Is this what equity looks like for rural children? Because to us, this feels like extraction, not equity. It feels like sacrifice zones, not opportunity zones. I want to say something personal, carefully and respectfully. I have a neurodiverse loved one who during COVID, when schools shut down, athletics disappeared, and structure vanished, he struggled, like so many young people did. Marijuana compounded that struggle. Today, he is a person of faith, and he will tell you, unprompted, that access to cannabis should be more limited, not less, than what we have today. Vista is already a cannabis corridor in the United States. Supervisors, you have influence. Influence and influenza both derive from the same root word. One describes what moves through a population. The other describes what infects it. Your vote shapes what is normalized. Your vote determines what is built nearby. Your vote shapes what the children breathe, see, and come to accept as inevitable. So, I ask you to pause and consider this decision, not just as policymakers, but as stewards. Is this the influence you want attached to your legacy? Is this what you want remembered as the environment you helped create for our children? This is not about demonizing cannabis. This is about where, how, and at whose expense we scale it. If our county can accelerate development that degrades community health faster than it can support schools that lift children toward purpose, schools intentionally designed as spaces to flourish, then something is profoundly out of alignment. I ask you, on behalf of educators, parents, students, and future generations, pause. Choose no outdoor cultivation, no lounges or events, and do not continue to develop the socially equitable cannabis program, especially without a legally defensible CEQA. And do not make this the legacy that our children inherit. Thank you.
Thank you. Call for the next three speakers, Alexander, Kathleen Lippett, and Andrew Baines.
Good morning again. Kathleen Lippett here. I have worked on behalf of community residents to have their say in public policies that affect them for over 20 years. This is a major land use change for unincorporated communities. It has advanced without meaningful local planning input, ignored concerns about odor, water, traffic, noise, enforcement capacity, and cumulative impacts identified by the county's own environmental analysis. The PEIR identified significant and unavoidable impacts even after mitigation. These findings were treated as procedural hurdles rather than as informed information to shape policy choices. State-level buffer standards are inadequate for rural and semi-rural communities with different land use patterns and limited enforcement resources. Ministerial permitting reduces transparency and appeal rights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alexander Grable. I reside in District 4. I'm born and raised San Diego. My parents are from San Diego. My grandma went to San Diego High. I'm here to speak on option A and how it can better affect people in the social equity program. I myself, as an applicant, has been affected also on the war on drugs. But more so important that I want to focus on is the sustainable cultivation practices, that we're not going to be leaching heavy salts into the water. You don't have to use heavy pesticides. There are ways for sustainable cultivation. There are ways to regenerate the soils, regenerate the communities, and those that want to be involved in it. So I want to thank everyone for their time. Option A is the best one. 600 feet is large enough and still make it difficult to find places to operate in. So anything more than that would just be a hindrance and push things more to the illicit market. And I am for legalization and keeping it in time.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Andrew Banez. I'm a cannabis social equity applicant, 39 years old, born and raised over here in San Diego, District 4. I'm a business owner over in Imperial Beach for the past 5 years, looking to extend another 5 years over there. I'm the newly installed president of the Filipino American Chamber of Commerce, Greater San Diego, with over 240 business owners and entrepreneurs. I'm also currently the resource coordinator for the FEMA-funded 2024 San Diego Flood Disaster Case Management Program. And I say all that to give you a sense of who I am and my character. Option A aligns with state standards, allows environmental impacts to be addressed through permitting, inspections, and enforcement rather than driven into unregulated and underground activity. A regulated framework enables oversight of water use, energy consumption, and land stewardship, making it environmentally superior to continued restriction. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Call for the next three speakers, Becky Rapp, Kelly Hayes, and Jennifer Hayter.
Good morning. My name is Becky Rapp, and I'd like to thank all the planning group members who have come forward today, as they have shared facts based on scientific data, and I stand with them. During county outreach and listening sessions, communities were presented with alternative number 1, no project, maintain current regulations. That option was strongly supported, yet today it's been removed from decision point number 1. Backcountry communities are faced with limited healthcare access, longer emergency response times, wildfire risk, and fragile water resources and sensitive habitats. These are daily realities. When this item was brought before the Planning Commission, it was obvious that concerns of residents regarding environmental impacts and public safety and enforcement were not addressed. The question regarding an official statement from law enforcement was asked, yet staff responded with, law enforcement had not yet been questioned, and that they had no official statement, but that they would address the concern and bring it forward in a future report. Yet we still do not have that information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, members. My name is Kelly Hayes, and I'm a licensed attorney who represents cannabis businesses. I've been working with this industry since 2014. I lived through the 2017 ban, and it impacted a significant amount of my clients at that time. I want to commend county staff for their extensive efforts and thoughtful work in developing the recommendations before you today. I fully support option A on all decision points. Additionally, last year, I had the opportunity and privilege to represent the Farmers Cup in hosting the first licensed cannabis consumption event with cannabis sales on site in the city of Vista. The event was very well regulated. We had private security and sheriff staff on site, the fire department, as well as health officials. It was reasonably attended and incident-free. Thank you.
I'm a little vertically challenged. Hi, I'm Jennifer Hyder, and I'm a
You can feel free to pull the mic down for yourself. Yeah.
I'm vice chair of the Bonsall Community Support Group, and I also sit on the ADG planning groups. I agree with everything that our chairperson said. I think what really boggles my mind is that we're the unincorporated area. We have over 500,000 residents. We get little to no consideration on our taxpayer dollars. We need schools. We need roads. Our roads are already overrun with cars and traffic and safety issues and fire evacuation. It just boggles my mind that we're dealing with this when we should be dealing with the basics and the structure first. Thank you.
Thank you. I will call the final three remaining in-person speakers. I believe it's Ebon Johnson, Tiffany Harrison, and Ronnie Moreno.
All right, cool. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ronnie. I'm a UCSD college graduate, and I'm here to advocate for option A, and just really remind y'all that like my friend said, there's a lot of sustainable alternatives to growing. We can really take care of our consumers who come into dispensaries, into consumption lounges. I've worked as a bud tender for the past 3 years since I turned 21, advocating for healthy consumption. We only want healthy THC, Delta-9, no synthetic alternatives, just organic cannabis that's healthy for the body, healthy for the endocannabinoid system, really to regulate a lot of the issues that people experience on the medical side. So there's a really medical benefit, there's a social benefit, and really it's a chance to right a lot of the misjustice that we've experienced in the past. So a lot of our social equity is super important for us. So I appreciate y'all taking the time and consideration for us. I really hope that y'all vote in support for us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tiffany Harrison. I'm the Deputy Chief of Staff for Council District 4. Councilman Foster is unable to attend the meeting today this morning, and I'm here to provide comments on the importance of passing option A and repairing the harm created by the war on drugs. The City of San Diego's Cannabis Equity Report states that from 1990 through 2000, the growing number of drug offenses accounted for 27% of the total growth among Black inmates and 7% of the total growth of Hispanic inmates and 15% of the growth among white inmates. This data is indicative that racial disparities in sentencing existed during this time. Not only were people of color arrested more, but they received unjust sentencing. The war on drugs perpetuated mass incarceration, tore families apart, left justice-involved individuals with employment barriers, increased police militarization, and grew the school-to-prison pipeline. So we ask that you approve option A and recommend that it is aligned with state standards, allows on-site consumption, and supports the Community Equity Contribution Program. Thank you.
Thank you. And final call for, I believe it's Ebon Johnson, before we go to callers. Okay, not seeing any movement in the chamber. We'll go ahead and go to those that have requested to speak by phone. Again, when it's your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted. You will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments, and we will go ahead and begin with our first caller.
Barbara Gordon.
I urge the board to vote no on this program today, as the county has not shown a solution to address the health and safety impact that marijuana businesses will have on residents and the harm to the environment. A new review in the Journal of the American Medical Association does not support the use of marijuana for pain and insomnia, despite years of promoters and profiteers shouting that it was the next miracle drug. Another concern is that marijuana growers use pesticides, fertilizers that can contaminate the soil and water sources. Cultivation and processing of marijuana generates significant odor and the waste products that can harm the local environment. I urge you to listen to the community and the planning group members who are not asking for or nor do they want more marijuana businesses. Please vote no on this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Your time's up. We'll go ahead and go to our next speaker.
Consuelo here. Okay, so I don't have a problem with people having access to real, clean, natural cannabis. But what I do have a problem with is government stepping in, calling the shots, regulating, taxing, and profiting, acting like it owns something that has healed people for long before the system existed. When government sticks its greedy, dirty hands into anything, it stops being about the people and becomes about profiteering. And that's exactly what this looks like. This rollout is shady. Scripted groups, flooding the chambers, scripted callers, showing up at the wrong time, not even tracking whether it's a presentation yet, voting for option A. So sloppy. That alone tells the truth of what's truly happening here. Most of these speakers here don't even know who they're addressing. You've never even been in these chambers until you were asked to come, and it shows. You ain't grassroots. This is manufactured consent. You all might as well be ending your speeches with, "Govern me harder, Daddy," because that's exactly how you're looking.
Thank you. Your time is up. And we'll go ahead and go back to Eben Johnson.
Kevin, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, please, everyone in the chamber, we really need to be respectful. Please be respectful of our speakers. And if people are being disruptive, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Thank you.
Feel free to start, Dave.
I'm here to speak about my horrible experience with conditional use permits. I used to own Mankind Dispensary. I'm an owner of Dr. Green Thumbs. I'm a minority owner in an Encinitas store, and I'm building a new store, retail cannabis store in Santee. My horrible experience with conditional use permits, after being awarded one in San Diego, I thought I thought I owned a cannabis business, but I was just an operator. Ralph Richmond, who was the landlord, when it came to the renewal of my lease, I started at $15,000 a month rent. After 5 years, it was $85,000. Either I could say yes to that, or he could put a new operator in because I wasn't I wasn't a cannabis business owner. I didn't own the permit. I could afford the rent at the time, but when the competition came and our revenue was less than half of that than it was in 2021, he wouldn't even cut the rent in half in 2025. In fact, he forced me to renovate a separate building on the property under a new lease that we couldn't afford, so we fire sold that business. Oh man, I didn't get a chance. I was talking about kidding. All right, well, everybody else had a longer talk to speak. But, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, it's 1 minute per person right now. Thank you so much. All right, we'll go to our next caller.
Paul Bold. It's a shame that the committee is presenting this with 4 options after a whole 4 years. You asked the committee for recommendations, not options. Isn't recommendations what we pay taxes for? Now, cannabis pesticides are especially toxic. So the smoke is more than just smoke. And in a water-poor area like this one, cannabis irrigation uses a huge amount of water. You can't grow it everywhere. It's concerning that the twisty and sometimes poorly maintained roads in tribal areas in East County impede access for police and emergency services if there's an urgent need. Fix the roads first. Cannabis boosts crime. LA is undergoing serial robberies at cannabis stores. There was
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go ahead and go to our next speaker.
Good morning, Honorable Chair and members of the board. My name is Josh Lewis, and I'm the Government Relations Manager at Embark. We're a California-based licensed cannabis retailer operating 17 regulated storefronts across the state. I'm here today to encourage you to choose option A for both decision points 1 and 2. Option A gives the county greater flexibility to evaluate sites that actually work rather than unnecessarily shrinking the pool of eligible properties. Alignment with state standards allows staff to assess locations based on practical real-world factors such as zoning, site design, access, and circulation, and compatibility with surrounding areas. Option 2A provides staff the direction they need to develop a temporary cannabis event program in San Diego County, unlocking the myriad economic and social benefits that these types of events can deliver. These events provide controlled, regulated access for adult consumers while generating measurable economic activity and local revenue. Embark has proven experience operating licensed cannabis sales at large-scale temporary events, including the California State Fair. These events show that cannabis can be integrated into major public gatherings with clear security protocols, strict age verification, defined consumption areas, and coordination with regulators and local officials while producing tangible economic benefits. Not on your agenda today, but we also encourage you to explore.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go ahead and go to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Florence. Your phone may be muted. It's connecting.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, Florence. Go ahead.
As landowner in the unincorporated area of San Diego.
I'm sorry, Florence. We can't hear you. There's a lot of feedback coming from your phone.
Is that better?
That is much better. We'll go ahead and start your time when you're ready.
Okay. As a landowner in the unincorporated area of San Diego, the county's adoption of option A gives these businesses an opportunity to thrive, which will increase the tax base. This will benefit the constituents in Joel Anderson's district. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hi, my name is David Evans. I'm Senior Counsel for Cannabis Industry Victims Educating Litigators. We conduct or fund litigation against state and local governments and the marijuana industry. Your state marijuana and medical marijuana program is a fraudulent national joke. You are low-hanging fruit for litigation. We are coming soon to California. San Diego now has our attention. And I ask that anybody that sets up a cannabis store in regard to this, please get insurance so that when we sue you, there'll be a pot of money we can draw upon. Catherine Lippitt knows how to get a hold of me, and I hope that you do not go forward with this program.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Good morning. I'm Lavon Norwood, proudly serving the Valley Center Community Planning Group, speaking this morning as a resident. Discussion point number 3, community contribution programs. I and many others own small businesses in the county. Many provide great benefits for our community and pay our taxes on time. What is our reward for following the law and paying our taxes on time the whole time? Now a business that was not allowed, but not only allowed, but now being rewarded for it, where is the $5,000 coming from? I truly hope not my tax dollars. Again, when will the businesses that have followed the law and paid our taxes on time be rewarded? Please understand, I'm not against the medical use of cannabis. I know cannabis can be of great benefit and help to individuals who can benefit from it. I'm against this contribution program. I'm in favor of option B. Do not continue to develop this CECP. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. This is Ann Riddle. Because I live in the unincorporated area, I attended 2 planning groups, and I went to the listening sessions. So I was extremely surprised by the actual county staff report because it bore no resemblance to the PowerPoint presentation we received on those occasions. There we had the choice of alternative 1, which is no project, and to retain the current cannabis regulations, which allows for 5 marijuana businesses who are active deliverers throughout the unincorporated area. I think we need to ask ourselves some very serious questions as to why we would get a presentation from the county staff, a very complete PowerPoint, and chose from and discussed and opined on and sent information in based on that PowerPoint. And yet that information is not showing up in the staff report. As someone said, this is a bait and switch idea that needs to be examined. Just for a point of information, I am very much against.
Your time is up. We'll go ahead and go to our next caller.
Hey, it's Truth. The PEIR found that odor, noise, and groundwater use will be significant and unavoidable, and community members recommend a ban. That's all that matters, not profit. Any consideration of what would harm the underserved backcountry is unacceptable. Talk about inequity. No one should be subjected to the dangers of impaired driving from lounges on winding mountain roads. There's already not enough law enforcement. Why can't there be a combination option of both B and C? The so-called community incentive grants function as bribes to give faux benefits to negatively affected communities. How many people who spoke in favor actually live in the unincorporated communities? Almost none. It was obvious. Let me tell you, people live in the backcountry because they want nothing to do with this urban trauma and drama. These county puppets are going to accept career fraudster Newsom's racist injustice money, sell out the unincorporated communities like they always do, and pave the red carpet for the cartel and politicians like Cardenas and Newsom to get rich off the funnel profits from the child slave labor working on the farms. Government loves to profit off the token Black Americans addicted to drugs that were presented to us today in the presentations.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
My name is Tom Lauerman. They call me Farmer Tom. I'm a San Diego County native. I'm a federal government cannabis educator. I'm a San Diego County social equity applicant. I'm a victim of the war on cannabis, negatively affected my family for 25 years. Cannabis is sacred than alcohol. I support option A and cannabis consumption allows as events. No fentanyl-laced cannabis, no mystery ingredients, just transparency and accountability. This is about protecting public health, supporting the economy. The San Diego County Social Equity Education Program benefits everyone, from the applicants to the community. This program goes beyond cannabis and provides hands-on education on how to start and manage a sustainable business of any kind. I personally walked away with sharper skills and understanding modern business practices. In closing, you can teach an old dog new tricks. I support option A. My name is Farmer Tom Lauerman, a native San Diegan.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go ahead and go to our next speaker.
Hello, my name is Lynn Malinowski. I am a resident of the rural unincorporated county and a member of the Rainbow Community Planning Group and the APG. Our Rainbow Group is aligned with and supports the carefully considered positions and points made by the Fallbrook Valley Center and Bonsall community groups who oppose this program and believe that any further work on it should be stopped. In addition, the economics no longer support the revenue stream that was once conceived. The costs for everything involved greatly outweigh the financial benefit from fees and et cetera. There's no real financial justification for expansion of the program beyond its current state. Please consider the positions of 500,000 people in the rural unincorporated areas over those few business interests that want you to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
And then, can you guys hear me?
Yes, Juan.
Okay.
Go ahead and begin your comments. You kind of came in halfway through, so if you want to begin your comments, I restarted your time.
Okay, sure. Thank God that President Trump took marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. Medical staff can do experiments, learn different things, open it up. I'm definitely against it being cultivated in the backcountry in San Diego. That's just not right. You can have the dope shops in different districts and have those bars that smoke it, but stay away from the backcountry. It's very bad for us. And then with the social equity words, you kind of need to define what that is. Social equitable stuff. It's like, hey, we're living in a world where the Supreme Court justice, a woman, can't even define what a woman is. She needed a degree in biology. You guys are changing the words all day long. But I take it as a white guy, that means the black guys are losing out on the money and they want some. So maybe go for the Somali angle on that. Somali pot shop.
Your time is up. And Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll now turn to the Vice Chair for her comments.
Thank you very much, Chair. Obviously, there has been a lot said here today. I certainly won't respond to all of it, but I do want to say Happy New Year to everyone, and I also want to thank all of the community members who have come out and been engaged on this issue for a long time. There are even some of you who I hear call in oftentimes that are here today, so thank you so much for being here. Many of you are familiar with my history around social equity programs with regard to cannabis, so you know, half the room is going to be okay and the other half will not be. I just want to be very upfront about that, but all that being said, I do think that this is still a forum where we can all express where we stand, and this is an issue where you're kind of going to be on one side or the other, and for various reasons, which I will discuss briefly. But before I do that, I want to thank our DCAO, Davian Lynch, and your staff at Planning and Development Services for bringing this long-awaited item forward to us today. I also want to specifically thank Director Vince Nicoletti and Deputy Director Rami Taleh for your team's hard work in putting together the program environmental impact report and compiling recommendations for a zoning ordinance and regulatory code to operate cannabis businesses in the unincorporated area. Also like to thank the Director of the Office of Equity and Racial Justice, Terrell Simmons, and the Social Equity Manager, Brandon Lewis, for your work in the development of the socially equitable cannabis program for the entire county. All of this required your expertise, but it also required quite a bit of community outreach over the years. So I want to thank you all for that and for keeping us abreast of all of those developments as they went along with your time in the community. We are at a crossroads here. It has been a long time since this board directed staff to do some more due diligence around this issue. So we're at a point where we can continue to delay or we can decide, you know, where we want to go with regulations right here today. And of course, I would advocate the latter. I do believe that it will be in my motion later, but based on the recommendations here forward, I am going to ask this board to support the option A for all of the decision points that we have here listed in the board letter. Want to address a couple of things. For me, this really has always been about a moral obligation to repair harm. I also saw communities being ruined by this, quote, war on drugs, when the foundation of those policy decisions were really rooted in a historic racial criminalization of cannabis. We do have study after study after study that shows us that consumption among various groups that we all identify with is at pretty equal levels. But where we have the disparity is how Black and brown people in certain neighborhoods were treated by the criminal legal system based on that consumption. That is where the difference lies. And I do think that I grew up with a system where marijuana was not legal. When it became legal, we have very people that were never harmed by the system that were becoming millionaires off of this new industry. That is not right. And that it doesn't matter how you feel about cannabis, it is wrong. So in my opinion, I have a moral obligation to try to repair that harm based on the permission of the people that put me in this office. So there are also the economic benefits. The U.S. legal cannabis market saw an impressive 425,000 workers employed in 2024, with the industry creating store managers, growers, botanists, lab technicians, scientists, compliance officers, security personnel, and medical researchers. Cannabis is a booming industry, and job creation will continue to rise, benefiting workers across various sectors. Additionally, in 2026, the U.S. is projected to make $46 billion in cannabis sales, with sales generating significant tax revenue for state and local governments. With a successful implementation of the SECP, we could see additional general purpose revenue for public services that would mostly go to the unincorporated area here, the county, infrastructure, healthcare, and behavioral health programs. In addition to these potential benefits, we can help residents negatively impacted by the war on drugs. And there's also a diverse group of people that were negatively impacted by the war on drugs, as we heard and saw here today. Our strategic plan at the county includes 5 strategic initiatives: equity, sustainability, community empowerment, and justice, with a goal to create a county government culture of equity, belonging, and racial justice. And I want to say again that the war on drugs was fundamentally designed to discriminate. This war revealed an overarching theme in which excessively punitive legislation, prosecution, and incarceration combined to harm and stigmatize minority populations, and particularly young African American males. The successful implementation of the SECP will only support the equity goals set forth by the county and undo the harms from this war on drugs. Ultimately, we cannot afford to have the county left behind in the potential economic opportunity for residents, additional revenue to fund public services, and healing for our communities. This is why I support the social equitable cannabis program here today, as I have throughout the majority of my adult life. So with that, I do have a couple of questions, and this is more so switching to the issue around background checks for social equity applicants and their ability to obtain a county cannabis license. I wanted to know a little bit of the difference between the county and the state's framework on that. I want to make sure that we are not creating additional barriers by some of our local procedures here around background checks. So if we were to leave the current regulatory code the way it is right now, and on top of an SECP that we could potentially be creating and implementing, what impact would that have on the applicants?
Supervisor, through the chair, currently social equity applicants will have to go through both the county and the state background check process. And the county code offers more discretion in terms of disqualifying criteria, and the state has very clear and defined processes in the state's process. Some of the applicants have expressed concern about the county's background check in terms of the moral turpitude, and this is viewed as broad or undefined, and they believe that this may not align with some of the goals that the program is intended.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Simmons. I think the clearer the better with regard to the background check process. I think that there is a history, right, in our criminal legal system. Some of this certainly has been done intentionally. Some of it may be unintentionally, that the more discretion we give, the more discrimination we may see in that piece of the process. So I'm going to go ahead at this time, based on your answer, move that we adopt option A for items 2, 3, and 4, and then add a fourth area of policy direction, asking staff to return to the board in June with drafts to the regulatory code that rely on a state background check for receiving a cannabis operating certificate. Thank you. That concludes my comments.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair, for your thoughtful comments. Before we move on to board discussion, I do want to just give a moment. There were a number of questions raised by public comment that I want to make sure are adequately addressed. So I'd like to give staff a moment or maybe a few minutes to discuss the issue that a number of community planning group members brought up regarding the no project option not being part of this hearing. So go ahead, Davia.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. Thank you to everybody who's attended. We certainly appreciate all of the community engagement that we've had the opportunity to have with so many of you on various sides of this issue. I did want to speak to what many of the planning and sponsor group chairs and members mentioned regarding the absence of the no project alternative. I wanted to clarify and certainly give my team the opportunity to clarify that absolutely will be part of the options provided when we come forward back to this board for a decision in the summer this year. Today's hearing was really an opportunity to look at a subset of the options and some very specific issues to get further clarification and direction from this board as to how they wanted to develop the program further, so that when we come back in the summer with the no project option, we also have a little more refinement on the other options we bring forward. So apologies for any lack of clarity there. I know there's been a lot of engagement with all of you, but please do know that is absolutely part of the options. Today's discussion was just a subset of that. Any clarification, Director Nicoletti?
Thank you. Just to add on to that, the board hearing report does note that the no project is still an option and that the board may remain with the current zoning that prohibits it. Attachment B within the hearing report does list out the no option, and I think the miscommunication was a reflection of under the California Environmental Quality Act, we look at a formal no option or no project alternative when we did community outreach on the EIR. That's where that was shared. When we come back in June, we will absolutely have that as an option as well. Thank you.
That was helpful. Thank you. Sue, I'll turn the floor to Chair Pro Tem Aguirre.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I want to start by first thanking everyone who spoke out today for taking the time, coming and sharing your views, whether you for it or against it or neutral. I know it takes a lot of time out of your day to come and give your comments, so I really appreciate your feedback. I want to start by asking a couple of questions before I go into my comments for staff. I'd like to know what impact will options B and C have on the availability of parcels for new cannabis businesses?
Supervisor Aguirre, through the chair. When we analyzed the increase in the number of sensitive receptors and buffers and separation between uses found in options B and C, it overall reduced the availability of parcels and acreages by around half, unincorporated area-wide. Now, those reductions were actually greater in the more urban areas, where in the unincorporated areas, there's a lot less land use authority and a less available zoning. And then we found that there's a lot more sensitive receptors, so there's a compounded effect. And the net result in some of these urban areas is only a few parcels remaining available, and in some cases none, across options B and C.
Thank you for that. So am I correct in assessing that both options, B and C, would likely end in these potential cannabis businesses being pushed out to the more rural areas in districts 2 and 5?
Yes, and what we found is there's just more land available in the more rural districts, rural areas, and there's a lot more available zoning. So with that comes many more parcels available.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I want to second Vice Chair's recommendations to go with option A, including the added number 4 that she mentioned, including all the decision points, including land use, lounges, temporary events, and continued pursuit of the community benefits program. I also support the request for county staff to come back in June with regulatory codes that rely on state background checks for cannabis business licensing. I think we need to remember and center ourselves on why this program matters. Cannabis legalization did not erase the harms of the past. It simply changed the law going forward while the consequences of prohibition remain for many people. Cannabis enforcement was not applied evenly. Certain communities, particularly low-income communities and communities of color, were over-policed, arrested at higher rates, and continue to carry the impacts today. A cannabis conviction affects far more than jail time. It can limit employment, housing, education, professional licensing, and long-term economic mobility, often for life. The socially equitable cannabis program is not a cure for those harms. It is a necessary Band-Aid, an effort to acknowledge past injustice and reduce barriers that still exist. Entrepreneurship is a pathway to self-reliance and economic mobility. Without targeted support, the legal cannabis market would overwhelmingly benefit those who already had access to capital, legal expertise, and connections. This program was developed thoughtfully and deliberatively and reflects years of board direction, extensive public engagement, and alignment with state guidelines. This program supports mentorship, workforce development, youth education, record expungement, and community reinvestment, funded in part through cannabis tax revenue that supports prevention and public health efforts. And at its core, this is an equity issue. Supporting this program means acknowledging past harm, creating a regulated and accountable system, and ensuring legalization does not leave behind the very communities most impacted by prohibition. That concludes my remarks, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's turn the floor to Supervisor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank our staff. I really appreciate how hard you've worked on this issue. You were given a tough task. I know that over 280 outreach meetings were conducted. Many of them were in my district, and by the way, my constituents are very appreciative for the outreach. This program has an opportunity to bring such needed economic growth to the unincorporated areas. For many of my constituents, this may not be the preferred method. But Prop 64 passed in 2016, and it's the law of the land. And it's our job as county supervisors not to rewrite the law, but rather implement the law in our community in a way that least harms our communities. While I've been supportive of this program, and I voted in favor early on, we had discussed barriers that made sense for my community. Mind you, I have the largest population of unincorporated residents in my district. With that, we've had a lot of outreach from my office into my district, and a lot of folks are really concerned about school location and playgrounds. And while the state only requires 600 feet from schools, cities like San Diego, La Mesa, others have put 1,000 square feet from schools. They've put restrictions on playgrounds. And this resonates with me because the last thing I want is for some child, by the way, just a quick shout out to my board members that voted in favor. It was unanimous at the time to give the DA and the sheriff $2.5 million to shut down over 100 illegal pot shops in my district. One was next door to Lakeside Elementary School. And we know that these illegal pot shops or drug shops, they don't care who they sell to. They're not accountable to anybody. And so I see this as a moving towards this. And by the way, for people that are watching, they may not know 4 of the 5 cannabis shops in the unincorporated over the last, 7 years are in my district. They went through the planning group. They were approved by the community, and I get no complaints about them. So we know that it can be done correctly if we use the system to do it. But I don't want to create additional hardships. What I want to do is strike a balance between protecting our kids and at the same time allowing people to operate as the initiative was suggested. I'd like to go back and look, and I'm offering this as a friendly amendment, but I'd like in those very sensitive areas like schools and playgrounds and county parks to move that buffer to 1,000 feet. The other part is, people talk about path of travel, they talk about straight lines. I like the measurement be done in parcels. It's enforceable, and I want to make sure that's very clear and everybody understands and it's not irregular in how we approach it. The goal here is not to remove options for the social equity applicants, but reduce potential instances where these products might end up in the hands of youth. I went ahead and had staff put together numbers for us. So if we were to take these changes under option A and move it more towards a hybrid of option B, there'd still be 1,434 parcels in commercial zones, 746 parcels in industrial zones, and 44,677 parcels in agricultural zones. So we're not saying, oh my gosh, we're going to eliminate all possibilities. We're trying to strike a very reasonable approach that makes it more, and by the way, not everybody in my district agrees on this issue, surprisingly. Some people are for, and many people are against. But I think that this is, for me, this would be the best way I could represent my district of such diverse opinions. So again, I'm not trying to be unreasonable, but I'm following what my constituents, the majority of my constituents, want, who are most impacted by what we do today and down the road. So I'm respectfully requesting that we change 2 items from 600 feet. Well, one has no limitation, but 600 feet to 1,000 feet when it comes to playgrounds and county parks and from schools. So if you're willing to accept that, I can get to yes. Otherwise, unfortunately, I'll have to vote no because this flies in the face of protecting kids in my district.
I'll this is the chair, the vice chair is your motion, so I'll just let you guys go back and forth.
Sure, no, thank you. I appreciate the conversation. I really still think that these larger buffer requirements and adding more sensitive uses, which, by the way, schools are already on the 600-foot, schools, daycares, youth centers. I think that that would significantly reduce to where we wouldn't be able to meet the goals of some of the other programming. So I'm going to see what the motion on the floor does for now. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to speak up if I could.
Yes, I think, first of all, thank you so much for being here and participating remotely, Supervisor Desmond. If you use your little icon to raise your hand, I can see it, and I'll put you on the list. So now you're on the list.
I can't find the icon here. I used to be able, on previous Zooms, I could see it, but maybe the flu is preventing it from coming up. I don't know.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you. So I want to thank everybody for showing up today and for speaking. District 5, you came out in force, and I appreciate that. So I've voted against this equity cannabis program every time it's come before the board. And I appreciate the staff's response to the constituents who said, you know, they were offered different options from what's coming before us. So I'm glad there was some clarification on that. But, you know, overall, I just don't agree with the premise that people who broke the law can now jump ahead of the front of the line ahead of law-abiding citizens. You know, to me, we're discriminating against law-abiding citizens by favoring those who broke the law. And yes, there was socioeconomic and other reasons why, you know, people, poor people, whatever, were using more marijuana. But I don't think this is a remedy for that at all. So I think this is detrimental, actually, to even the word equity. And I think an irresponsible use of the concept. This isn't equity in my mind. So today, you know, and this isn't about, you know, whether cannabis is legal or not. And I'm okay with people using cannabis for medical reasons or recreational reasons and things like that. But this is really about land use and how cannabis should be sold, used, and cultivated in the unincorporated areas. So on this topic, I disagree with the motion. We already have 5 dispensaries in the unincorporated areas, and delivery is available everywhere. So it's not like we're restricting marijuana or cannabis to people in the unincorporated area. I'm with 2A, I think I would support option C, to prohibit outdoor cultivation. And primarily because of the odor. And this stuff stinks. And it, you know, it doesn't travel 1 football field. You know, it stays in the air and lingers. And if the outdoor cultivation means you still can cultivate it indoors. You just have to filter it. You have to use fans. You have to do something so that you're just not emitting a strong odor from cannabis growth. And I get it protecting schools and playgrounds and things like that. But if you got housing or houses next to a big marijuana field, I mean, the stench coming off of it is a huge issue. So I think prohibiting the outdoor cultivation would be a step in the right direction. I'm against the lounges. I think that's a crazy idea, especially on the windy roads and back in the unincorporated area. And also, I think option B on 4 is not to continue the community contributions or taxpayer dollars going towards these efforts. So, you know, if the motion was C, B, and B, I could support it, but I just think this is a stretch for the entire equity portion of what we're trying to accomplish here. And I think, you know, this is detrimental to the unincorporated areas. And there's not one sponsor group or a planning group. There's like 29 sponsor groups and planning groups in the unincorporated areas. Not one of them came out in favor of moving forward with this. And I think the stench and the potential harm is even worse. So I'm going to be voting no on the item. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Let me just take a moment. First of all, I really want to appreciate everyone who came today. This is obviously an issue that really matters to so many folks in our community. And I see a lot of faces here that, you know, this may be your first or second meeting, and I hope that you come back. So this is a really important venue for you to be here and participate in this a really critical deliberative process. I just want to kind of take a second to share a little bit to my colleagues and to the public regarding my thought process on this item. I think, first of all, we know that the law has changed. Historically and for decades, marijuana was illegal. You can look at the historical precedent as to why marijuana was prohibited while tobacco and alcohol were not. I think that is extremely instructive as we then begin to trace what the impact of a carceral approach to marijuana production and consumption has been on our communities, and especially our Black and brown communities throughout the United States. And when we look at this program, you have to embed it in the historical reality that laws that look neutral on their face are not neutral in their intent or their implementation. And that, as a person who is deeply, deeply committed to the principle of fairness and before the rule of law and the notion that all of us should be equal, it strikes a chord of deep discomfort and regret, and a commitment that we as a society have to do better moving forward. And so I think it is really important that we do not forget the historical precedent that we inherit when we sit and we talk about cannabis and cannabis cultivation and production, and the raw truth that there are people who have lost decades of their lives because they were incarcerated and targeted for engaging in activities that are not only now legal, are now profitable, and have become a source of pretty significant market returns for big, private equity investors across the United States. And that is a source of, I think, deep ethical and moral discomfort for me. And I think that is something we have to be centered on as we think about this issue in front of us today. So from my perspective, I think we have to certainly protect our communities and especially our kids from the negative impacts of any kind of consumption of any kind of substances that might have a negative impact on their lives and their well-being. And certainly that's true with tobacco, it's true with alcohol, it's true with marijuana. I think it's true with social media, right? Like, there's a lot of toxic substances in our communities that have really negative impacts on young people and disproportionately impact young people when they don't have the frontal lobe development to make good choices. And again, I think many of you have noticed I've been particularly concerned about the impacts of social media and its targeting and of young people in trying to create addictive behaviors. So that is very centered for me. It is really critical that we present our young people from being exposed to the extent possible to addictive behaviors and being kind of targeted by companies that seek to profit from exploiting kids who just aren't able to make better choices. So that, for me, is the frame. These are the issues that I want to center as we move forward. We have now considered this issue many times. I think there's been lots and lots of really powerful, important discussions. The initial frameworks that were brought to us didn't really have a lot of setbacks for certain kinds of spaces that we know we might want to make sure are not, the targeted area for marijuana sales. So I think we've moved pretty far and developed, I think, a really robust framework. The state legislature has engaged in a very deliberative and thoughtful process to balance these interests. And what I don't want to do is replicate the injustices of the past by using facially neutral language that looks like it's neutral, but in reality then makes there absolutely no areas available for cannabis cultivation. And so therefore, even if it looks neutral on the face, the impact in reality is to continue to reproduce historical injustices. So that is where I'm sitting with all of this. I know we're going to continue, obviously, looking at these issues as we move forward. But where I sit today, I'm inclined to lean towards supporting the motion on the floor by the vice chair. And I know we will see a report back and we will continue working on this. But I think that her motion strikes the right balance to protect our communities while doing everything we can to rectify the injustices of the past. So thank you very much. And thank you very much for all of you for being here today. We have a motion on the floor, and we have a second. I don't see any substitute motions, so we can go ahead and vote.
And just to clarify as well, your motion includes the staff recommendation to find the proposed actions are not subject to CEQA as well?
That is correct.
Thank you. And then let me go ahead and call the vote. Oh, sorry, got to do roll call a vote, yeah. Supervisor Anderson.
Sadly, no.
Supervisor Desmond.
No.
Chair Pro Tem Aguirre.
Yes.
Vice Chair Montgomery Stepp.
Yes.
And Chair Lawson Remer.
Yes.
And that motion passes with Supervisor Anderson and Supervisor Desmond voting no, all their supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you everyone for your participation, for being here today. If you can exit the chamber as quietly as possible, that'd be great. We will take a recess. We will reconvene in 50 minutes, so that would be at 1:15. What? 50, 5-0.
The board is recessing for.
5-0 minutes. We'll reconvene at 1:15.
The board is recessing and will reconvene at 1:15 p.m.